cake, yeah, baked in a cake, baked in a cake, baked in a cake, baked in a cake, yeah, we baked in a cake.
If government isn't doing its job, then the people have the right to alter it.
We trying to fight that racial injustice. We headed to the White House, I love this. They want us to give up, but we got this. We not going away, we the topic. We going state to state with the evidence until we make some change like the president. Marianne is the one to get the job done. A better democracy is the outcome. Baked in a cake, 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 baked in a cake. Woo!
That split mind, which is American consciousness, is baked into the cake, baked into the cake, baked into the cake.
Baked in a cake, 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 baked in a cake.
Once again, let the people get in there. We'll handle it from here. I have run for president before. I am not naive. I understand that in their mind, only those people whose careers have been entrenched in the car that drove us into this ditch should possibly be considered qualified to lead us out of this ditch. No, ladies and gentlemen, the problem is not that it's complicated. The problem is that it is corrupt. A real grown-up does not knowingly allow a child to go hungry. And an emergency level just transition from a war economy to a peace economy. No one person can fix it. The president who lays it down and says it like it is would do a lot of good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Save Our Democracy, Mariannathon, powered by Step in America. And remember this because I'm going to say it often. Marianne2024.com/donate. If you got $1, if you got $5, 10, 20, donate. If you got $1, if you got $5, 10, 20, donate. You got a nice echo going on. All right. So welcome, everybody. We're so happy to have you with us tonight. We have a very, very special guest that's going to come on with us later. So hold on. The purpose of this this broadcast tonight is to give you a unique experience to be able to really get to know Marianne Williamson. She's running for president in 2024, and they are trying to keep it a secret, and we are not going to allow them to keep it a secret. And why this is important? Well, one of the many reasons is that she is a huge proponent of peace. So the purpose of our getting together now is to talk about peace, to learn about peace, to think about peace, to be about peace. And that's one of the reasons we have the special guest with us tonight. I heard this gentleman. If you don't know his name, I'm not going to tell you because you should know his name by now. You better ask somebody. Ain't that right, Shell? My co-host.
That is correct. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
So excited. Shell, you know what? I was going to get ready to give you this big intro. I'm LB. I'm a holistic counselor. I worked with Marianne 2020. I'm totally dedicated to her becoming president of the United States. I followed her books. I follow her Course in Miracles. She's a best-selling author, 14 books, speaks all over the world, has changed millions and millions of lives. She's running for president. She has the swing states going. Her numbers are going up because if I didn't say this, Wendy would get me. Now, what I would like, instead of me trying to introduce the marvelous, wonderful Shell, I want you to take time to just introduce yourself to us all and let us know why you think this is a meaningful forum for you and I to co-host tonight.
Well, any opportunity I get to share my story, I'm excited to do. My story is about resiliency, and we can all have and need a coach to help us through our moments and experiences in lives. So I am a former professional basketball player, and I basically have my whole life in sports and using that platform to make the world a better place, starting with myself. And I've done a lot of special, amazing things in my life, but I don't think there's anything more important than sharing my story and inspiring and empowering others. So I'm super glad to be here, to have you as the host, your energy. For me, it's leadership and it's women. I mean, I grew up in the household with two very strong women, and to have a woman take this seat and to lead this nation, I can back 100%.
Yes, 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 yes. And you guys, we didn't plan to do it, but I think seeing us, I want to thank you so much, Shell, for your wonderful intro. And I'm thinking while you're talking, because we have our team, our core team on, and everybody can see them. After hearing you, I'm thinking, Shell is just rocking, 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 no stopping. Why don't we introduce everybody, because everybody can see you so that they know who our core Save Our Democracy team is. And I think in my screen, I see Oscar in the upper left-hand corner. I don't know if everybody else's screen is the same. Oscar, do you want to say hi to everyone?
You're on mute.
Can't hear you.
Yep, sorry. Yep, so I've lost my voice, but yes, actually I'm one of the co-leaders of this event, and also what we call a collective that we started called Step in America, and we invite you actually to join that group. We have a Facebook group that's called Step in America. Just search that group, and also another group which is at stepinamerica.com. You'll find a website there, and a group of people that we call radical advocates for Marianne, and we would like to have you join us. In fact, the people here that you see are part of that group. So yeah, I'm very excited about this this event, and glad you're here. Oh, please, if you don't mind, if you would, it's not mandatory, but if you come on as a guest, please let us see your visual, your video, turn it on. If you need to have it off, you can cut it off, but we'd like to see your face. So thank you. That's who I am.
Thank you, Oscar. And then we got Pat Farrow, Miss Wonderful Pat Farrow.
Hi, I'm Pat Farrow. I have known and followed Marianne for 20 years, and I've watched her use all of who she is in the service of humanity. I'm a psychotherapist and an author. One of my books is titled "What Happens When Women Wake Up." I'm all about the power of women, and I met LB going down to sponsor, to volunteer for Marianne, and I'm all in. That's me.
Thank you. As soon as I met Pat, we met in, I think we were at Ann Arbor at the Interfaith Church, and Marianne had like standing room only. They said, oh, it's going to be limited and people are going to be turned away. There was no turning people away. And then Pat had like some gifts and things for Marianne, some books that Marianne has endorsed her books, and just wonderful. And we've just been sisters ever since, and that's just it. And there's nothing she can do about it. She thinks it's nice now, but she hasn't known me that long. Like will be quiet. And then we have Reed to the rescue, dude. She's the one keeping us all on point. She's the one who's going to tell me, okay, LB, we got to go to our next segment. You know what's going on. Pat is our producer. You know, she got our run of the show. That's a very important term we've been talking about today. So she did all the organizing, and Ree is going to be behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, kind of keeping us on point. Ree, please introduce your wonderful self.
Hi, my name is Ree Monique Cherie, and I am a Tai Chi instructor, a wannabe professional writer, and an instructor of just interesting things. And I found this group a couple of months ago. Maybe it hasn't even been that long. I don't know. Time is going weird lately. But I kind of plunged in, and here I am. I heard of Marianne the last time she ran for president, and I thought she sounded great, but I was into Andrew Yang then. And then that all kind of crumpled down. And this time around, I was with Marianne from the very start, looking for ways that I can help support her. And I don't have a lot of money, so that kind of support went really quickly. And then that's how I found my way in with this group. And I'm very happy to be here and share this experience with you all.
And we are so
thank you.
Thank you, Ree. We are so blessed to have you as we continue to grow. You become just more and more invaluable. That's why my nickname for you is Ree to the rescue. So hopefully it sticks, because that's definitely what you're doing tonight. And what I'm hoping tonight is we can come to the rescue of Marianne 2024 by raising funds. You know, if you haven't gone there yet, please go to marianne2024.com/donate. There's no donation that's too small, because all of us together can make a huge difference. You know, so many times people say whether she can win or not. Well, if you think she can, she can. If you think she can't, she can't. Because if we all vote for her and she can't win, what does that mean? It's not America. If we all vote for her, yeah, guess what happens? Guess what happens? And one of the most important things is we need to raise funds. Marianne does not take corporate funding, because that's where a lot of the corruption comes from. Sometimes you stick with us and you're going to learn more about how much money it takes. When I was a young mother, I used to tell my sons and my daughter, when I wanted them to do the highest level, have the highest level of behavior when they were not going to be in my presence, I would say, be good, do what you're told, do your work, be respectful. And what are you going to be? What are you going to be? And they go, President of the United States. I go, act like the President of the United States. So from the time when they were little, when I wanted to tell them to give me their best behavior, I said, act like President of the United States. And then strange things happen in the White House. I'm not going to mention any names, because Marianne does not like to say negative things about anyone. So I'm trying to follow her lead. But him who I shall not mention, who was the so-called first Black president, became the president that I never wanted my children to follow. And so now when I heard in January 2020 that Marianne was running for president, I had given up, because I had supported Bernie. I saw what happened to him. Then I went to the Green Party. I supported Jill Stein. And I just felt so disheartened. And then Marianne. And then when you read her, you're going to learn this tonight. What's the name of it, Pat? The Allegiance for Peace. The international.
It was Global Alliance for Peace.
Global Alliance for Peace.
Yeah, years ago.
She started that years ago. And Marianne teaches us what you're going to learn tonight, that peace is something to be studied. There is a way to establish peace. And our government doesn't do that. They have a Department of Defense, they have the war machine, but they don't have an apparatus in place to institute peace. So what Marianne has always proposed from 2020 to now is that we establish a Department of Peace and use a part of the budget that we use, a very small part of the budget that we use for, war and defense, and dedicate it to establishing peace. One of my favorite quotes by her is, do you want to know how to make peace with your neighbor? Make peace with your neighbor. Today I text somebody who was with me in the campaign. They were working as a volunteer in 2020. And I said, I haven't heard from you lately, and I have a lot going on in my life, and I know you have a lot going on in yours. But child, don't be thinking that we're not friends if you've decided that, you're not, in alignment with what I'm thinking. We're going to be friends forever. In this world where people just stop being friends with each other, stop talking to family because people can't disagree anymore. The way you make peace is be peace. And when I heard KRS-One teaching on being peace, this was just a little while ago. I always knew him from his music, from the hip hop, music and everything. I must confess, I never listened to his teaching, because when I saw him, I always thought it was going to be, rap music, blah, 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 just, I could listen to a song here or there. And then when I heard him teach on being peace, I said, this king is teaching on the level of Marianne Williamson. And then when I saw that he appreciated the teaching of Marianne like we do, I saw this grand synergy. Krista's at a live event with Marianne, and she is like almost right on time. Is she not, Reed? And okay, she's at a live event, and I think if she wants to turn on her sound, I think this is exciting. You ready to talk, Krista?
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Krista. I am at Unity Church in Lansing, Michigan. Marianne right now is taking questions from the audience, so I'm going to try and sneak in and See if you guys can hear her respond to a question or two if you want.
Don't let Wendy see you.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Good to see you.
Okay. Now I just got to figure out how I flip my screen. All right, I got you guys.
All right. Perfect timing.
Here
I
we go.
called her.
And he said, well, nobody else was doing it. And he's, yes, and I won't go into our private conversation, but I called him on it publicly and privately. They just say these things. They say these things. And Caitlin Collins is an example. She had asked me to be on her show. Then she canceled. Headquarter wasn't like this. Now it's with Dean Phillips. When people are saying, even Bobby Kennedy, when Bobby Kennedy was running as a Democrat, I saw it a few times. People would say to him about being the only opponent. He would always say, and I thought it was very gallant of him. He said, well, there's Marianne Williamson as well. That's called integrity. So it's an odd invisibilization of immigration. And some ancient thing about women. I never felt in my career as a spiritual speaker and author, I never felt that I was limited in any way by my gender. But in politics, it is such a broad club. I mean, like Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Elon Musk with his Twitter spaces. He had Robert Kennedy and DeSantis, said he'd do any other candidate. Joe Rogan, all those guys, they all had Bobby. Some of the ones that are having Dean now. And it's really difficult not to take personally. It's very difficult to fight me. But I do know this, that it doesn't matter, as I said so many times, all that really matters is what the voters in the primary states think. And I think that when, you know, given my numbers, if I'm able to raise the money, if I'm able, and by the way, in terms of financial support, please don't underestimate what $5 does. Don't underestimate what $10. I mean, it is small donations to keep this thing going. So whatever matches your heart, if you feel like investing that energy. Our plane has taken off. I did need altitude. We have a good team, but I have to scale it up. So what will happen, for instance, is one of my opponents in the primary, according to CNN, has a $77 million personal fortune. And when asked, will you be spending whatever it takes, he said yes. So that means where I'll have one office, he'll have 3. Or I have one person on staff position, I need 3. But again, my heart does not say get out. Because if something becomes a buzz in this country, you know, when Reverend Michael was talking about seeding things, I think that's what we're doing here tonight. We're just placing seeds inside our minds and hearts. I read a book, and I don't know who said this, but the quote has always meant a lot to me. To be fully invested in an effort and unattached to the result. Now, on one hand, if somebody is giving you money, if somebody is donating money to your campaign, you do owe it. I believe I owe it to anyone who supports this campaign with $1 to do what I can to win. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think anybody who would be giving to my campaign would wish for me to compromise any values or anything like that. But to try. But in my case, particularly given everything we've talked about, it's got to be a co-creative thing that you and I are doing together. And also, I want you to know that I at the presidency that way too. A lot of times you hear politicians say, particularly in presidential elections, send me to Washington to fight for you. So I just want you to know that the last thing I want to do with 4 years of my life is go to Washington and fight for you. Washington is a good chapter of American history. One collaboration chapter, and again. But the same forces that I would be dealing with in Washington, you have to deal with in Lansing. They're the same forces, and state houses are now ground zero anyway. In order for this country to have a renaissance, in order for this country to have a season of repair, in order for there to be a resurrection of the greatest values of American democracy, all of us are going to have to change. There has to be something that happens inside us. We have to make some characterological shifts inside ourselves to rise to this occasion. We need to begin to see political engagement, both local, state, and federal, as simply an aspect of a well-lived, meaningful life. Because I'm going to be very honest with you here, I've been honest all night. We have to take some responsibility for the fact that it ever got this bad. If our eyes had been on the ball, this would never have happened. And by this, I mean the myriad ways that we're 6 inches. And the way we let this happen is that too many of us thought, well, I'll vote. I mean, I'll show up every 2 years. I'll show up every 4 years. I mean, I certainly do my responsibility as a citizen, not recognizing that corporate lobbyists were showing up every hour of every day. And you know what? American democracy was never meant to be one in which we just farmed out our thinking to a political class. We were played. We were played. But you know what? Winston Churchill said, you can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they have exhausted every other option. And if you go through history, it's really true.
Yeah.
Distracted, things to do, things to think about. Take our heads out of the stand and go, whoa, whoa, what's happening? We slam it. And we've proven that. We proved it in World War II. We proved it in, I think, the 2020 election. We proved it in a lot of ways. We need to prove it now. And I think we're ready for that. You know, people have asked me, what is the difference between the 2020 election and 24? What's different in you than us? Well, the things I'm talking about are the same as I was talking about 4 years ago. But I sense a big difference in the American election. We've been through so much. We've been through January 6th, we've been through Trump, we've been through COVID, and I sense among people now a listening to a deeper conversation, because there's a realization something is wrong. Something's wrong at the center of things. It's not as simple as transactional politics. We need a transformational politics that matches 21st century, that digs deep, that talks about root causes. I think people are ready for a meaningful conversation. And I think the fact that I've had a career in which meaningful conversation between two people is what we do. I mean, we have meaningful conversation. It's just that we have to allow that meaningful conversation to happen among us, and even with people that we do not know. One of the ways we need to do that, by the way, we need to come out of our silos. I don't give a different talk depending on who's black, who's brown, who's white, who's Jewish, who's Christian, who's Muslim, who's gay, who's straight, who's non-binary, who's left, who's right, who's Democrat, who's Republican, who's progressive, who's libertarian. We say we don't like the division, but we hold on to the division with our own identity, sense of identity. You know, after all those things I just said is the word American. Gay American, Jewish American, Black American. We have to find that part too. And so when people say to me, well, who are you talking to? I'm talking to whoever is interested in hearing, but I'm talking to a place in our hearts. You know, people hear you on the level you speak from. We just need to fall down into a deeper place and do our politics from there. Like I said, that's what we do in our personal lives. I have had people, and I think particularly because I've had so much experience with people whose lives were truly in trouble. I've had this experience myriad times. Somebody who lives their life on a really shallow level, totally distracted by ultimately unimportant things. Not a bad person, just a person who's just keeping it silly. And then the doctor says it's cancer. And somebody says, you know, your child's a meth addict or whatever. And I've watched that person in 5 minutes, just layers of ultimately unimportant thoughts just fall to the ground. And this unbelievable transformation. I say to the professional family, what do we have to do? They change. They snap out. And that's what I think we are. Some people say Americans don't care. I think Americans care too. We're not apathetic. I think people are just kind of like, this is what we do. You know, I think it's just like if somebody says something big news to you, then a lot of times in life you go, wait a minute, I gotta think of this. And I think that's what we are. But I also think that, like I say in AA, at a certain point you get into the solution. So I think we're both processing like what's really happened here and coming to this point like, okay, now we need to do something. And yes. No, she wouldn't. I admire her, by the way. I'm a fan of Governor Whip. And no, that system, one of your congresspeople who I'm a big fan of came to one of my events today. I don't know if I want to, I mean, she was in public, but I just don't think I should maybe mention it. But no, I've not met the governor. I knew Jennifer when I lived here. I knew Jennifer Granholm, and I knew Debbie Stabenow when I lived here. But, and this is not personal about anyone. That is a machine. That is a machine. And even when there's some level of personal, even affection, the machine, they draw a circle around themselves. And the Democratic Party, I mean, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I became an independent for one election and learned how naive that was. Roosevelt Democrat, I'm not running. People say I was at a Democratic meeting the other night in New York and Brooklyn. I felt the hostility of people in the room. And one woman said to me, well, good luck in tearing apart the Democratic Party. I said, maybe this is a primary. People saying, Jill Stein, excuse me. I'm running as a Democrat. It's a primary. But this Democratic Party's insistence, and the DNC's insistence, it will be Biden. The traditional role of the party is to stay in the background, let the people decide, and then the party comes in. The press should not be acting like a gatekeeper. The DNC should not be acting like a gatekeeper. But I admire her. I admire some wonderful things that happen. There's nothing personal there with any of that. Anybody else? Yes. Same gentleman has another question.
First part is the statement. Yes, we need the climate emergency because when it comes to it, first part is the statement because yes, we need the climate emergency because like back in Spain, an act, the Clean Water Act that has been in place since the 70s, completely stripped, and yet, like a beautiful site that I'm doing a research project on for my nature that has no actual protection really for it, which is ridiculous because we are already stripped away 50% of our lands. That's how it is here. And then the second part, as far as education and social media, I mean, I'm practically called like a dinosaur and a boomer because I'm the only person that on my age group that don't have social media. But
I'm still stuck on a dinosaur and a boomer.
that's something. Yeah, like I mean, I have siblings that are very young, like below 10, and yet I ask them, like, how do they feel mentally? Because they're always on the screen and social media, and yet they say they're depressed. They're under 10, like anywhere of ages, you know, on 6. Are they like that? So yeah, what about
Well, the Seattle School District is suing the tech companies. There is a professor at the University of San Diego who has established that there is causation and not just correlation between a number of hours that kids spend on their tablets and an inability to sleep, an inability to focus, and inability to learn. So this is another thing where we know this, and I hope that they win that case. And at this point, you know, the tech companies, and this has to do with that unfettered capitalism, same thing with AI. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. You should have some ethical responsibility, particularly to children. So they put these safeguards on, but everybody knows how easy they are for the kid. You know, years ago, I was at a restaurant in Houston, Texas, and I was at a table, and there was a table next to me, about 5 or 6 adults, and then a little kid in a high chair. And the little kid, like little enough for a high chair, had a tablet. And I thought to myself, this is when that child's little brain should be looking around, social clues, social cues, seeing how people are talking to each other. This child at that age is getting the action is here. The action is here, not in people. It's terrible, and we know it's true. And of course, as a society, we have, you know, very tough decisions to make. What you can, you know, over-regulating, regulating. It's not easy for anyone, but I think a lot of it's parenting. It is parenting. I mean, I wanted to just grab that tablet from that little kid. Why did you have it? Get your one.
And guys, I'm gonna get off of here. I hope that you guys got a chance to see Marianne and hear some of her responses. And I hope you guys continue and have a good night.
Thank you, Krista.
You're welcome.
I don't see LB. Did she drop off?
I just admitted her again.
She's back
Okay.
on, should be back on,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
that was exciting though, to see kind of from the back of the room what it's like to be at a talk that Marianne has given. I've never been. Has anybody been? Seen her in person?
Over and over
Nope.
and over. Yes.
It's my first time.
Yes, something I'd like to say is Marianne wrote Healing the Soul of America in 2003. She did a 20th year anniversary. Marianne has been seeing these things and knowing these things and talking about these things for well over 20 years. Just saying.
Yes, she has. Excuse me, everyone. I got knocked off, technical difficulties. So I just signed back on my cell phone. So I thoroughly agree with what you guys were just saying. So I'm trying to catch back up. My apologies.
I think we're, Ree, I think if you have the reparations video, I think that's where we are in our program.
Actually, we have the Peace Alliance, and then after that,
Oh.
we'll have the reparations.
Okay.
I think in the world today, we're in the midst of an all systems breakdown. And the only adequate response to an all systems breakdown is an all systems response. You can't look at just one area that's a problem and really see the whole picture. And sometimes in life, you don't have to know what you can do, but you show up for whatever it is that needs to be done. And because you showed up, what you can do then appears. The reason that we at the Peace Alliance chose this particular piece of legislation to campaign for is because the legislation to establish a cabinet-level Department of Peace will provide an institutional platform to the peace-building community. The idea of the Department of Peace is that there would be one cabinet-level position. Cabinet-level means it's important. That means the president gets to hear their opinions. And the cabinet, this particular cabinet position, its job would be to facilitate, to research, to articulate, to scan the country. What are the best practices, techniques? You don't just wait till there's a violent eruption and then just try to throw people in jail. You don't just wait till there's a violent eruption and then try to bomb the country. There's just a limit past which this is not workable. Rather, you proactively seek to cultivate the conditions of peace. Anytime you have large groups of desperate people, you have an almost inevitable trajectory in the direction of violent eruption. So we can have a much more sophisticated analysis of what it would take to create a peaceful world. So we need to become far more sophisticated. And there is currently really no place in our governmental functioning where that is the primary function. Now, some people say, well, what about the State Department? The State Department does some marvelous work, but even their peace-building work is given a tiny amount of resource materially compared to the defense establishment. But even in the State Department, they're only talking internationally and they're only talking state to state for diplomatic efforts. The Peace Department bills calls for as much concentration on domestic issues as on international issues. Just as we have a military academy now, this department, the Department of Peace, will have a peace academy. You have the people out there who know how to ameliorate conditions of violence in people's hearts and minds before it even starts, and then how to diminish it through, working with them once it has. Have them be the faculty at a peace academy. Train people how to do what they do, and then send them out into the bloodstream of this country and of this world, and we can turn this ship around.
Wow.
And
And
here
that's
we are,
that's an old video. Right?
and here we are talking about turning the ship around 20 years later.
Plus, she sounds very presidential to me.
Yes.
Yes.
20 years ago.
I think that's the thing that just hit me more than anything else, is how that is from almost 20 years ago. And she had this same perspective on these things from a leadership level in government, when we hadn't, I don't know if she even knew that she was really aligning herself to be running for president of the United States, because what she's saying 16 years ago is just as germane now as it was, even more so.
Yeah.
I just learned something else, how really long Marianne has been really
And
putting all
then,
this
so
into
what is all this BS about how she's not qualified? I mean, that just makes me
Yes.
bananas.
Right.
Yes.
Mm.
She talks a lot about how sexist the system is. I remember when she and Roseanne were talking about it. And I think that has a lot to do with what's going on. I watched a podcast not too long ago. Cornel West says that Bernie Sanders is pathetic. And he gets on this show, and everything he was talking about, he even gave me a name for who I am, a humanist. I'm just like, I don't want anyone to be bombed. I don't want anyone to be killed. I don't care about the politics. I don't care about, the religions. Just don't kill innocent people. Don't kill innocent men. Don't kill innocent women. And don't kill innocent babies. I don't care about the other stuff. And he said, that's where he's coming from. And he explained it. He said, because I am a humanist. And then he continued to talk, and he continued to have this wonderful, lively discussion where he mentioned RFK. He mentioned, other people, what Phillips running. He even mentioned Jill Stein. But he very conveniently pretended that Marianne Williamson didn't exist. And Cornel West is somebody who has a video that I shared, that Marianne Williamson discusses morality, politics, and justice with Cornel West. And he's like, you are the sister, you have the best perspective on everything in life. I mean, it was like beautiful. And now he sits at this time and gets into the Marianne Williamson is invisible game. And I've lost a great modicum of respect for him for that.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
you muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that invisible game is a ridiculous, crazy game. And, it just says to me, I don't, I'm not pointing my fingers at any particular person, but, the people who are talking the right game, the good game, and a lot of things that Marianne is saying, and they can be supportive of, but they don't come out and say it, to me, it's being irresponsible. And, I said earlier in our little group here or somewhere, I was that person. I was that person who was irresponsible, and now the way the state of the world is, the way I see it, there's no way, that we can just sit back and let Marianne do it, let any of these other folks out there trying to do it. It's not going to happen. It's really going to be up to us individuals, and somebody spoke to it earlier, it's in our own hearts to make a decision to step in. We named our group Step in America to make this happen. That's what it's going to take. And that's why we're doing this telethon with a bunch of total volunteers. And these volunteers, by the way, are not even part of Marianne's official campaign. These are people who are stepping up even beyond that. And we call ourselves radical advocates for Marianne, for the presidency. And so I invite people, take this opportunity right now to invite people to join our Step in America group on Facebook. At least do that. We also have a website, stepinamerica.com. Join that group and become a radical advocate for Marianne.
Most definitely. And make sure, if you haven't done so already, to visit marianne2024.com/donate. You heard her say in that live segment, $3, $5, the power of Marianne's, our movement, because it's a movement. And you heard in Baked in the Cake, she says, not just one person can fix it. She's our voice. I love when she says, I want to go to the White House. She's like, I don't want to go in there and fight for you. She's like, I want to go to the White House, crack open the door and go, come in, guys. We got 4 years, and let's see how much good we can do together in 4 years. And I'm really looking forward to that. So excuse me, still having some technical things. I'm on with you on my cell phone. Ree, are we on track? Are we on point for where we're supposed to be at this time? 8:41 is what I got.
Yes, we're good. We're doing well. We have another video that we wanted to show that has to do with reparations. Did you want to talk about that, kind of shift the mood in that direction?
Yes. Reparations, an idea whose time has come. I want to talk about why this fits in with peace. A few years ago, I was a ghostwriter for a book by Reverend Delgado Linthicum. He wrote From the Gates of Hell to the Gates of Heaven, and how you can get from the crack of hell to the gates of heaven. That's what it was. and he had gone through horrible times in his life, selling drugs, this, that, and the other. But he learned, what people who were incarcerated, what they had to go through. And so he made a carpentry ministry. He created a painting ministry, because he said, a man gonna eat. And when people get out of prison, they have a bad record. Nobody will hire them. They can't make any money. So what do you think they're going to do? The people who just don't care, And what I say now is, yeah, a man gonna eat and a parent's gonna feed their babies. I was a single mom with 3 children, and you would do just about anything to take care of those babies. And Marianne talks about it, desperate people do desperate things. She was just talking about it. So when you live in a society where there's people who can't pay their rent, can't feed their children, and you don't care, you don't give a darn, do you have the awareness of the fact that that makes society more perilous for everyone? Because where there's one desperate person, where there's one hungry family, there's another person, somebody's mother, somebody's daughter, somebody's friend, who's in jeopardy of that desperate person, not excusing them, but that desperate person potentially taking what they need to do what they feel they need to do. When we throw away more food in this country than can feed villages in other countries every day, where children are hungry, where children are starving. So when we think about reparations, we think about, Oscar, you may know the numbers better than I do. You know, a lot of people say, well, slavery is over, get over it. Well, the effects of slavery are not over. Well, those who still benefit from slavery are still benefiting. You know, oftentimes when I go into beautiful areas with these wonderful subdivisions and condos, and the name of it is, oh, Lovely Arms, Glenn's Estate, Assire Village. I want something named Timbuktu, Mufasa trees, you know, to represent the richness that my ancestors, my grandfathers and grandmothers brought to this country. And if we are compensated for at least the labor, because you cannot compensate us for the pain and the exploitation and the lost lives. And if you just live in a country where you know, we respect you. Elie Wiesel said, he said, you don't want to be tolerated. In this country, they talk about, oh, I tolerate you. Elie Wiesel was a survivor of the Holocaust, and he wrote Kristallnacht. And my favorite book is by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. I've read the book 6, 7, 8 times. I've written many papers on it. Okay, survivors, you know, of these kinds of things. You know, and he said, we don't want to tolerate each other. You want to consider. I consider you. I consider your humanity. Not, how do you feel, Ree? What if I said, hi, Ree, you know, I tolerate you? That's not even, that's so condescending. It's so, you know? But if we consider the humanity of one another, if we consider the history that we come from, if we consider the fact that we were, you know, Marianne says, if you knock somebody down, it's not enough just to stop knocking them down. Give them a hand up, help them get back up. And that's what I feel reparations are. And Marianne has been talking about reparations. You'll hear in this video, this is a historical video, the first time any presidential campaign promoted reparations. And look at the numbers on YouTube. It's barely been watched. And by the way, in a few minutes, I'm in there, you know, like, well, you know, 3 seconds or something in. But it's a historical video. It gives a historical perspective to reparations in this country. It also gives you insight into how long she's been working on this. A lot of times when I talk to non Black people about it, they go, oh, she's just another politician pandering, acting like she cares about us. She really doesn't. She's going to talk the same old game, and then she's not going to do anything. No, baby. Marianne this ain't her first rodeo, and she's been talking about this for decades. So this video that Rhea is about to roll for you it's a gem, and I want us to look at the numbers, how many times it's been viewed, and look at the, you know, another video that somebody else probably did that doesn't even say anything. Another candidate has done. Look at the number of views and help us get this video out to people who care about racial justice in this country, because racial justice would bring a hell of a lot more peace to this country. Thank you, guys.
One of the bigger issues that has really resonated with many people from the debates is the issue in and around reparations.
Yes.
This has been one of your core issues. Why?
I've been talking about this since my book came out in 1997. The first enslaved persons brought over in 1619, slavery not abolished till 1865. That's 250 years, followed by another 100 years of institutionalized violence against Black people. That's 350 years of institutionalized violence. That's longer than this country has been in existence.
Paying reparations for slavery will not fix everything.
But America will not have the future that we want if we're not willing to clean up the past, to clean up this original character defect of racism.
Whatever it costs, it's time to do this.
I'm Marianne Williamson, and I approve this message.
Goosebump moment, goosebump moment.
Was that the first time you saw that video, Shell?
Outside of today, when we watched it,
Mhm.
so second time.
What resonates with you there?
Somebody that finally understands and
Mhm.
empathizes with what Black people have been through and continue to go through in this country, and someone who's willing to do something about it. Like she said, it won't fix anything, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think that's all Black people want, is just that, to know that somebody's willing to take that step in the right direction.
Yes. I agree with you. That meant so much to me. Even if she had never said it, I would still like support her. It was just such an extra blessing from the divine most high that she was actually having some sense. You know, in communities where I come from, what our people say is, well, white people crazy. See, what they don't realize is that unfairness, that sense of just injustice, that sense of, yeah, well, we benefited, we got all this, leave it alone, da da da. When you have someone and then you get to know all these beautiful people like Pat and Marsha and Beth and all these wonderful people that I met that agree with her. When Marianne goes and she brings up reparations to communities all across this country, she gets standing ovations. And sometimes it's a predominantly white audience. And I never knew that so many people had sense. Of course, this is something that we need to do in this country. And in this world where we're talking about, I don't want to go too much into it because I want us to stay on peace, but when we're talking about what oppression of people, consistently over time can do. Now, I'm not saying we're going to have anything like that, but when we think about the desperate acts that are done by people in poverty, that by people that know how unjust the system is. And when I tell people, I say, in my community, there's really good people outside of just where we're from. I'm from Detroit. I'm like, what's sign? Okay, see that he goes, they say, LB, you should not be repping no signs. But when I try to tell them, that I support Marianne Williamson, here's my 2020 button. They go, why did you? I said, I support Marianne 2020 and Marianne 2024. I said, because everything in her campaign item agenda is stuff that our community should care about. And if you can't care about her just because she doesn't look like your mama and your grandmama, because it's a lot of Black people who just don't like you because you don't look like them too. Because see, some people think they got the market cornered on being like, against people for how they look. They don't. How about getting somebody in office who's committed to putting some money in your pocket in the next year, 2, 3 during their administration? How about if that's the only thing you care about? Because I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't know. The Black people didn't get reparations for slavery, but guess who got reparations for slavery, Shell? Guess who our government paid reparations for slavery?
White people.
I just want to let you know,
Yep.
I'm getting rid of, oh, he's in.
Huh?
KRS-one just came in the group.
KRS, our guest of honor, welcome.
Hey, good brother.
Together. Hello, how you guys doing?
You're doing great. Thanks for
Great.
being
How are
here,
you?
bro.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Good to
Thanks
see
for
you.
being here. Let me just say one thing. I wanted to say I met KRS. Just a little background for folks. I met KRS African American Day Parade or something was going. Not something. It was going on in Harlem here. I live in Harlem, New York, and there was an event going on. I heard some people crowded around some folks that were talking. I think there were a couple of politicians there. I heard Dougie Fresh, and then this gentleman got up and spoke. And after he spoke, I rushed to try to find him. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something around peace, something around politics. I don't know what it was. And I just ran up to him and I said, do you know Marianne Williamson? Yes, I know Marianne Williamson. And she happened to be in town that day. And to make a long story short, we got the two of them together for dinner. And but I also told him when we sat down for dinner, I said, KRS-one, I never heard of you. And that's like all on me. But I just know, but I just always have to admit that. And but I've since been at his temple that he has in Newark. And I've heard you don't know this, KRS, that I've actually sat down and listened to one of your Sunday night ministries, and it was very inspiring.
Wow.
Really appreciate that. So LB, you wanted to introduce them, I think, formally?
Oh my gosh, how do I introduce such a wonderful teacher, spiritual teacher, entertainer? I am so honored to be saying hello to you and having you join us. And when I saw how you resonated with Marianne's message, I was just so happy. I've been paying attention to some of your teaching. I always knew you for entertainment, didn't go too much into your teaching. And now that I have, I revere you as a teacher on the same level as Marianne Williamson. I know that you have taught and lectured at, you've at least spoken at over 500 universities. You have several books that you've put out that I need to get to studying. The number one thing I think I have, the gift of you, King, my brother, is that what you are teaching through the temple of hip hop temple is things that I try to talk to my sons about, and I can't always find the words that will resonate with them just right, because they think because I went to Salve Regina University and I have a master's degree in counseling, they think that I'm talking a language that doesn't fit with them, and my one son, the youngest one, did this little song we started the thing with, because I asked him, it's like baked in the cake and mixed in with Marianne. But when they hear you are speaking their language. You're teaching the same kind of concepts. You're laying down the knowledge that Marianne is, but you're laying it down in an authentic way that they can appreciate and take home with them and really change things. And so when Oscar told me that you were willing to come on and speak with us, I'm like, okay, let me get my antenna ready, because I'm getting ready to learn. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Wow. Look, you already put a battery in my back right now. And I'm honored to be part of this conversation. Anytime you could be part of something productive, positive, forward moving, it's a no-brainer for me. So, I'm grateful for the invitation. What's on the menu? I know there's a couple of themes to discuss. Who's leading the way?
Guilty.
Yeah.
It's me and my big mouth. The major theme that we're talking about, and I know you can go to a lot of places, and I'm hoping there's a lot of things that's going on, but we wanted to make sure that we had the space available for you. And I'm hoping as we move forward, we'll talk about even more, because there's so much that we could tackle right now. KRS. Is it okay to call you KRS, or do you want KRS-one?
Chris,
even better. There's so many things that we can talk about. But I think what is really germane and right in front of everybody's face right now is this issue of peace. And I loved when you were teaching about peace. My father passed away 2020, 1 week before Father's Day. And I was so lost. And Marianne had a wonderful conversation with me. But before I went to his funeral, I said, okay, God, what do I do? Because I don't belong to any religion anymore. So I talk straight to God every day. What do you want me to think? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to be? How? Use me. Just use me. Please, just use me. And I went to the funeral thinking, be love. Don't go in love. Just be love. Just be it. Just be it. And when I listened to you teach about being peace, see, my name is LB. Sometimes people have a problem with my name. They go, what does it stand for? I go, stand for LB. What the hell? But B, my spiritual guidance, like Sister Diana is a metaphysicist, and she said, L is a name of God in B. So the reason that people have a problem with your name LB, because you're saying God B. I said, I did not mean to do all that. My name was Lisa Bartley. It's just an L and a B from a child, but it's B. So it challenges people. Because on a vibrational level, you see what I'm saying? And she said, and they want to cut you in half. And that's why they got a problem saying LB. Okay. So I'm all about be being that you would see. Instead of asking for it, begging for it, crying because you don't have it, God put within us the ability to be it. You see, if you're in darkness, you can be light. You see? So when you were teaching on peace, I said, this is teaching that we have to get out there to the masses. And then when Oscar came to me and said that he introduced you to Marianne, it was like chocolate and peanut butter. Reese's my favorite candy. Two of my favorite teachers together. And I knew that this would be the impetus for something really profound. So that's what we're talking about tonight, Chris. We're talking about how do we be peace? What does that mean? What does it even mean? Especially now.
Right. Wow. And from what finger do we come from? You know, there's a piece on peace. There's a political peace. There's a spiritual peace. There's of course an economic, financial peace, which is what most are struggling with today. You know, but there's also an intellectual piece that we can call it science of mind. We can call it that. But it really is the ultimate piece, to be content with yourself. And it's like, you know, this is a tough thing, to be content with yourself, or to arrive at a state where you're comfortable with you. Because think about this, human intelligence, right? You say, you know, what is it that makes us want to do better? It's because we're not satisfied with ourselves. So now you look at that, but wait, why are you not satisfied with yourself? Well, because whatever, I think I'm deficient in this area. I think I need this in this area. Whatever it is, you're still not comfortable with you. Now, the extreme of this is to say, well, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm good with me. I don't care what my actions, I'm good with me, and I don't care about anybody else. These are the two extremes we're dealing with: people who believe too much in themselves and people who don't believe in themselves at all. And then you have one or two in between that will say, you know, we have some kind of balance, but how can you really have, this is the kicker now conversation, how can you really have balance and peace in this colonial society? You know, when I heard Marianne speak, I saw an abolitionist. I saw somebody who is not written down in American history like they should be. You know, like Lucretia Mott or Elizabeth Cady Stanton or Susan B. Anthony, you know, any of these quote unquote white women fighting for Black freedom. I mean, she fights for all kinds of freedoms, but as a Black man, I find myself being more like the Frederick Douglass, and she's there, Susan B. Anthony. And I'm saying, but wait a minute, this history is not really written down much. This is not the history that people are really getting. And what's happening is that it's making people feel hopeless. And that hopelessness is like there's no peace. There's no, once things become hopeless, peace is impossible. And here we are in a hopeless situation. And what is the hopelessness? Extremes. When the extreme is no more enough, you're done. Like God is an extreme, okay? God is the ultimate. But for so many people, God is not enough. You know, like imagine a concept that we believe is the all and the foundation of reality itself, the mind of the universe. We still want more than that. How can we find peace? How can there actually be peace if you want more than God? This is why I actually praise our ancestors. Because even if you say from an atheist point of view, like me, I'm a philosopher. They say a little bit of philosophy leads to atheism. So let's do a lot of it, okay? In this instance, our ancestors, just from a philosophical point of view, if you say the mind creates everything that we perceive, okay, even interprets it and all of this, the mind. So somewhere along the line, one of our ancestors said, we need a concept that represents the mind of nature. We need a concept that's going to unify all that we can perceive, including life itself. We're going to get this concept together and we're going to call it whatever. In English language, we call it God. But of course, all kinds of languages have all kinds of names. But this concept of the all-knowing, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent being, people still want more than that. We reached our limit we reached the limit of mind by saying nothing goes past God. So we gave ourselves limits, even though the concept of God comes from our own mind. This is the epitome of self-control. When you know with your mind you can create anything, yet you limit yourself to principles, to discipline, to mercy, to peace. But this is a character, see, and this is the hopelessness of it all, because if you don't have this character, there's no way for you to actually understand anything that I'm saying. Like for instance, a person will say, well, if these civilizations were so advanced, these ancient civilizations were so advanced, how could they have been conquered by less intelligent beings, less loving beings? How? They were more, the people who built the pyramids and created all types of stuff on the earth, how could they have just been conquered like this? And this is the point to character right here. And I go back to the colonial society. The character of the society, the question answers itself in terms of peace. The question answers itself. How can an advanced civilization be overrun by people of lesser intelligence, lesser civilization, less discipline, greed? And how can they be overrun by this? And the question answers itself. Advanced civilizations don't create greed, hostility, war, murder. We're not prepared for invasion. Advanced civilizations are advanced because they're cooperating with one another. The invader comes in as a competitor. And so, without going through the whole concept of capitalism and the idea of this competition in society, as long as you have competition to eat, like to get your basic needs, you're going to have to compete in this society for your needs. There'll never be peace. That's what makes it hopeless. There's no peace. There's no peace in capitalism. There's no peace in unchecked competition. Just because the ultimate of competition is murder. Like the ultimate of like we gonna compete until, and what's the final thing of competition? I'm going to annihilate you in some way, shape, or form. You cannot come back and win over me. So how can I assure? Well, look, we're going through this right now in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
You know, how can I be sure that you ain't coming back? I'm gonna annihilate. This is the ultimate level of competition. So where's the peace? Where's the peace? Well, the peace comes in when your character is capable of setting limits on yourself, meaning that you know you are infinite, but you live finite. You know, it's like saying, be in the world, but not of the world. It's like saying that, it's like, I know what my capabilities are, but I'm living on 125th Street and Lenox Avenue, and these specific capabilities don't matter. There's another set of skills that are required here on 135th Street and Lenox Avenue. There's another skill required here, another spiritual skill, another skill of peace that's required here. And look, let me not take up the time in this, but your question is so fascinating because there's no justice without peace. There's no peace without justice. Those that understand the concept of ma'at and the balance, the balance. This is what peace is, the balance. So how can there be peace without justice? And this is that level of spirituality that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Is they want a spirituality without justice, and like for instance, they'll say, and here's where the peace comes in. Another angle on peace. People say you shouldn't walk around with a victim mentality, victim mentality, and in one breath, on one level, I totally understand. Why are we walking around like victims? Somebody did something to me, this, that, especially on a spiritual level. You pretty much bring everything that's going to happen to you. You pretty much bring it to yourself. Those that walk that path, you understand what the mind can do. You understand what your aura can attract to you. And so you take responsibility for your life. You take responsibility for your direction. There's no victimization here. I can rise at any time. We understand that. But without a victim, there's no justice. And this is what people want to quickly get over quickly. There's no victim here. There's no victim. Just pray. Just meditate. Just chant, just read, just do that. But wait a minute, I used to have gold and silver and copper. I used to have lands with animals on them, and I used to own a river, with my own fishery in it, and you know what I'm saying? I used to have a country, I have civilization with my own rules and laws, and no, don't talk about that. That's your victimization again. There you go again, feeling like the victim. And this is the piece right here. The piece is that without a victim, there can be no justice. So you got a lot of people walking around today, mostly white folk, walking around today, guilty. And in their heart, they say, I had nothing to do with this slavery craziness. That's not me. And they're right. They're right. But Black folk will turn around and say, but wait, you're still benefiting from the work of your ancestors, just like we are still deficient from the robbery of our ancestors. You're still enjoying the spoils of war, even to this moment that we speak right now. So where's the spirituality? I'm talking Africans to Europeans in America, okay? Now we trying to get our act together, but both of us are colonists to the Native Americans. So where's our spirituality? What? We praying to God on land that has blood on it? We're standing in churches that are built on top of Native American temples? The most ancient of places, the mounds have been robbed, the pyramids have been blown up. And I'm talking about American pyramids, American mounds, American cities. All these ancient roads are destroyed. Now we want to say we're spiritual. And we're looking for peace. And we can't, and we say we're looking for it. Why? Because we can't get it. Why can't we get this peace? Because there's no justice. Because there's no justice here. Every time I do a concert, at least I try to at least shout out the Native Americans of this land. And there's all types of new evidence that comes out that says that Native Americans are not even native to this land. There's all types of stuff coming out to refute their sovereignty of this land. And some of it is true. I mean, you can't, some of it is very logical and so on, but none of it refutes the historical and cultural tradition of the Native American in America, like what the Native American Indian, if I may use that degrading term, what the Native American quote unquote Indian, the look and the image and the culture means to America makes them indigenous to America. Yes, there is Africans been in America. Go check the Olmecs, go check Mayan civilization. We've been here. But that's not the point. The point is, how are we saying we spiritual and the Native Americans are standing right there? This is their land, okay? We Africans, we're from Africa. We got a continent, okay? Europeans got a continent. It's called Europe, okay? You over there. But we both here fighting amongst each other, claiming we both spiritual, and we both colonists on Native American land. You know, the story of the Buffalo Soldier alone, just that alone. These are black folk running around killing Native Americans, okay, on behalf of white folk, okay? And the Buffalo Soldier, I mean, the Native Americans called us this because we look like buffalo to them with beards and woolly hair, and we coming out, and we also fought like buffalo, they say, and all this type of symbolism went with it. But there was an honor. It was an honor that they bestowed unto the African warrior of the time. But when you really peel back the story, now here we are again, killing one people for another people that ain't even our people. And so here we are. So it's like we got to undo a lot of hypocrisy to get to peace. We need justice to get to peace. You need love and care to get to peace. You need your ancestors to get to peace. You need your ancestors. Like, imagine if you can't talk to your ancestors, you have nowhere else to go. And you started this conversation off with the concept of being. And this is so crucial. I'm going to cut my mouth off right here at this point. Being. Oh, my goodness. This is the essence of the freedom part right here. This is the solution right here. In a colonial society, everything is objective because it's colonial. In a colonial society, the colonists, the education of the society, the colonial education is always going to be objective. Objectivity is going to rule the day. Now, when you think about it, it's illogical completely because nobody is objective with anything, okay? We all know. Most people are subjective to most of the stuff that we feel. Our feelings are in what's going on, whatever it is we're studying, whatever we're saying, this, that, and the other. But when you're dealing with a colonial society, meaning an outsider is coming into your territory and subjugating you and your ideas with their ideas. And so this concept of colonialism begins as an outside objective force. So the education is always going to look down upon the first, the simple, this thing, the real, always going to look down on that. So you got to understand this in terms of getting peace. Like in a colonial society, it's almost hopeless because here you are with the basic education that you get begins objective. So everything you study, you're never going to become it. And if you look at the society that we live in, you have, say, the Bible. Millions of people read the Bible. No Christ, though. Nowhere. Not even a Moses. Like, can we even get a David somewhere? I mean, None of that. Everybody reading that Bible objectively. And I could go on with the Quran, I could go on with the Bhagavad Gita, the 5 Baskets of Buddha, you could go with the Torah, you could go with every book you can imagine. Nobody is subjective to what it is that they're studying. It's all objective. It's me and it's that. It's not that, which includes me, this, and all this other stuff as well. It's all just that. We don't even think like that no more. It's separate. Capitalism makes you compete, so I need that individualism. Colonialism separates you from reality, so you stand alone in reality as an individual. This is what they want. This is what the system needs. Anytime you group up, us Africans, anytime we grouped up, it was a crime, remember? We couldn't come together. 3 or more was a crime to group up. This is what they don't want, for you to group up, for you to unify. This is against that rule in that sense. So the education models that. The education says, you can study God all day. Just don't try to be God. You can study Malcolm X. You can study Harriet Tubman all day. Just don't try to go to a federal prison and actually free your people. You can study any of these people. But when it's time for you yourself to become these people or continue them, which is the same as becoming them, somehow our education shuts us down immediately. And we just go, oh no, that was them and this is me. And who are you? A powerless individual competing for basic necessities. Revolution is so far from that person. It's impossible. The minute they shut your water off, you're done. The minute you go to your car, you go to the local supermarket and there's a guy there with a gun standing in front of the supermarket, you're done. No more food. There's nothing. We don't grow nothing. We don't, and some of us are privileged enough to have a garden or have access to somebody with a garden. But even that, they're going to be the first ones that the military run up on if they really trying to control something. So you got to think to yourself, how do we deal with this? Like, how do you deal with this type of society? And keep in mind, our ancestors dealt with it. As wild as this may sound to you, our ancestors outsmarted it altogether, because let me tell you this piece right here. This is all solution-based. And what was the last solution? If your education is making you not do what it is you're studying, basic colonial education keeps you objective to everything you're studying. Do you not realize that whatever you study like knowledge, or like I didn't know something, now I know it, that act is food. It's literally food. It feeds your mind, like as if you ate. Knowledge is literal food for the mind. It creates neurons in the brain. Knowledge, it creates pathways in the brain. Literal food, like the way you eat fish or whatever you eat, creates physical stuff in your body. So does knowledge. But what if your knowledge is Christopher Columbus discovered America? What if that's your knowledge? That's what you ate. That's what your mind ate. And now with that mind, you're looking for peace. Christopher Columbus, first of all, you say Christopher Columbus discovered America. Christopher Columbus never made it to America. We all know that. He was in Turtle Island, or what is now called. So he never made it to the continent of America. Never got here, never saw it. That's it. It's a lie. But for many years in school, we were taught Christopher Columbus discovered America. Now, the way to get out of this type of education is to think faster than it. And what is faster than education? A belief in yourself. See, genetic knowledge is faster. more accurate, and more powerful than colonial knowledge. This is what the assimilation process was all about. They said, don't let them speak their language. Don't let them group up more than 3. Don't let them eat their foods. Don't let them wear their clothes. Don't let them take it all away. We got to do these people or we can't survive. That's how they felt. And you know what? There was a truth to that because we are the gods. And so unless you got to subdue the gods if you want to be free. And that's what people did. They said, yo, we got to subdue these gods, okay? We got to get them under control. And lo and behold, now here's the fast part. Here's how they are defeated once again, okay? Take their language, take their religion, take their clothes, take their stuff, strip them down. Now give them your language, your you're this, and you turn them into a version of you through assimilation. But guess what? Anything you give a God is good for the God. This is what people cannot understand. Divinity is real, and we proved it, okay? Point in case number one. Number one, take away their language. Don't let them speak their language. Well, guess what? We are the creators of human speech itself. And proof of this is rap music. This is proof of it, okay? You can take the most ignorant of us, okay? I'm talking about my brothers and sisters right now, okay? You can take the most crazy of us. We still know how to manipulate the English language more than any linguist, phonologist, the people go to school to study this stuff. For years, they go to school to study linguistics, to study phonology, and some even take up poetry and try to get into the technical. We wake up in the morning like, yo, listen to this. I got lyrics all day. I'm about to hit your spirit. You got to hear it. I'm going to, like, what? We're talking about this all day. Why? Because we are the creators of language. So you could take away one of our languages. Who cares? Matter of fact, English is our language. English itself, the phonetics of English. Matter of fact, the word phonetics comes from the Phoenicians. Black people, big afros, they were seafaring people. They were just before the Carthaginians, the empire of the Carthaginians. These are the Phoenicians, the original Phoenicians. They're the ones that created the alphabet, A, B, C, D. These are Black creations. We created them, okay? So imagine the mind that creates mathematics doesn't need mathematics. Everyone else does. The mind that creates language, organized speech, letters, numbers, shapes, that mind doesn't need none of that. None of that. That's for y'all. The mind that can create that and other stuff. And so if you're just left alone, you'll come up with something called hip hop. And it will defy the entire system itself. We are independent. We are proof that our ancestors never died. They never died, and we was never assimilated. They only captured us. They didn't conquer us. Big difference. They only got us together. And in a lot of ways, this is what we wanted. See, we are the gods. So if you really take that seriously, you say, right, wait a minute. The first humans don't come from other humans. Think about this for me. It is a scientific fact that they call her genetic Eve, right? They say genetic Eve, African Eve, is a bunch of women that create a gene pool that is the origin gene pool for everybody in the entire world outside of Africa. These group of women that they call African Eve, okay? Now, if you are the first human, okay, this is what we got to remember, not 1619 Jamestown, Virginia. That's crazy. Go back about 200,000 years ago. If you want to be safe, say 100,000 years ago. See, 200,000 years ago, you got what is called Homo sapiens. These are all their terms, but this is Homo sapiens, Homo meaning man, sapien meaning wise, wise man. The first wise men or wise people are coming now from out of Africa into Europe. They're meeting somebody else called a Neanderthal. Neanderthals are Africans. They left Africa earlier and then wound up in Europe. They got renamed, of course. Neander is a place in Germany, and Tal is a valley at the place. So you have Neanderthal, which is where they found the bones, was in a place called Neander, and it's in a valley. The Neander Valley man is what Neanderthal man means. But that man is an African, black man, or wherever the bones are from, African. Now this, going back with this history, and this is the history that frees you, really, because once you understand the truth and you can react to the truth, you find peace. Once you're free, say the truth sets you free. So once you find truth, you find peace. The truth of the matter, for those that feel oppressed in this way, those escaping colonialism, those escaping capitalism, unchecked capitalism, those escaping that, realize that the character of the first beings is what matters, not the race, not the skin complexion, because the concept of black is another colonial concept. The concept of black, the concept of white, red, like making human beings out to be white, red, yellow, brown, these stupid colors. This is all imperialism, colonialism, capitalism. That's what that is, okay? Once you can free your mind from looking at human beings according to colonial color distinctions, you'll see the human being for what it is for real, which is really an intelligent being moving around, intelligence moving, consciousness on the move. You'll see humanity for what it really is. And this alone will cut 10% of the fear you might have for people you don't know. Because if you walk in spirit, then you feel all people. You have the empathy to feel all people. And like I said, if you're the first being, you don't come from other beings. You come from nature itself. And this is what it is. See, colonialism makes you think that you have to come from one race of people to be called original. That's not how it never was like this in nature. To be called the original, to be part of the first people is about your character. The first people are not black, white, red. Now, they might have been dark skinned, sure. If you're in Africa, hot, sure, you might have been dark skinned. But all dark skinned beings are not first humans. The first humans, the first self-aware beings is a character. And this character is what is in our blood, in all of humanity's blood, to lesser or higher degrees. Some people exude the character of the first beings with high degree. And what is the character? Cooperation, care. Like, these are the things that first people had to do to survive. Like, you couldn't be warring and killing and invading and expect to survive. You're the first one. So as the first one, you don't come from other people. You come from the circumstances of life itself. Something happened in life beyond human intelligence, beyond anything anybody could play. There are no humans yet, okay? Something goes on in life, in nature, and you are produced, or your kind is produced. This kind that is produced is directly from nature. African Eve. She's not from anybody else. She's from nature itself. This person comes out with the mind, with the being, I should say, comes out with a being that has to cooperate, has to be lawful and lawful unto nature, because nature will kill you quickly. Break nature's laws, you're done. Okay. Matter of fact, you can't even break nature's laws and live. It's really that instant. So you have to follow law. You have to be cooperative. You have to be patient. You have to be inquisitive, wanting to know things. You have to be able to be flexible. Thought you knew something, learn something new, adopt it, and move on. This is the ways of the old gods. And when you have this attitude about life, you're always at peace. You're always at peace because you realize I don't come from people. I come from nature itself. And how do I know that I come from nature itself? My character. My character is one of peace. I'm not looking for peace. I am peace. When I walk in the room, peace comes in the room. People even say, man, I feel comfortable around you. Man, I feel safe around you. Man, I feel good around you. You know, just peace. You walk in the room, peace is in the room. Peace is not something to attain at the end of a journey. It's something you start, you confirm it at the beginning and take it with you throughout your journey, whatever that may be, to your goal, to your vision, to whatever, but you are the peace. You are the peace. And you could be the love as well. You could be the forgiveness as well, the understanding as well. These principles are not just good, like morals, you know, like they're not just good, the definition of good. They are empowering. Like imagine if a group of us decided to forgive each other, and there's so much to forgive. Let's say just forgive debt. Like imagine if African Americans, all of us, all 14 million of us, said we're going to forgive each other's debt. We're going to forgive each other's debt, not the United States government or anybody like that. Forget all that. We, amongst ourselves, are going to forgive each other's debt. Okay, each other's debt. African Americans owe African Americans a whole lot of stuff. Okay, we always borrow from each other, not paying back, can't pay back, investments fail, this, that, and the other. Yeah. But what if we one day said, we're going to forgive each other? What if the Latino community, just on the Latino community, just said, you know what? Every Latino, we are not going to, you're forgiven. Your debt is forgiven. Do you realize what that would do to the economy? Like, do you realize what that would actually do to an economy or a president that ran on that kind of ticket that said, we're going to relieve debt? Well, see, this is the thing, because you can't do that because it'll probably crash the system. The system's based on debt and keeping people in debt. So it would have to be, I guess, a group, a community that would be able to do this. I guess it couldn't be a nation that was able to do this. It would have to be a community that rose to that level of consciousness. But it would be, like we say, money is causing a lot of people stress and they can't reach their peaks. Well, a leader, a national leader can say, hey, why don't we relieve each other's debt? That's it. Like, we're just going to forget it and leave it at that. Like things that are owed to you, don't hold on to them. Let it go. Rise to the consciousness where you could just let that go. Whatever money is owed to you, let it go. Whatever thing was taken from you, let it go. Especially if it's within your own community. That goes for all communities too, by the way. All communities can practice this. I'm speaking from an African American point of view, but just think about if any community forgave its own debt, what economic prosperity that community would enjoy if it would just treat itself with the respect it's asking others for.
So can I go ahead? I just want to.
Jump in. Come on, cut me off. Somebody
Yeah, I just cut you off. So I don't know, this thing, I don't know what I'll say, this thing, peace. Okay, so I get that peace is within us, and it happens within us, and it gets caused within us. And I got a question in here though. And I also see peace as, understanding and appreciating humanity, my own humanity and other people's humanity, and bringing love to that. The practical, and let me just add that, and I also see that as hip hop, which I love. I get it. I love it. But the game, and I'm calling it a game because I find so many, my experiences, I find people hard to do this, and that's my interpretation, my perception. The word I want to throw out, and you just use it, that's why I jumped in, is respect. Can we just respect one another, and understand people are coming from different places? And I get, and you also threw out the word truth. I get crazy around this word truth, because I'm talking about I'm always talking about, well, whose truth are we talking about? Whose truth are we, and whose truth are we going to accept? I mean, this water's going on. Each side has their truth. The way I hear what Marianne's bringing to the conversation is bringing humanity, and bringing what you're saying, and both of you are saying about who are we? Are we peace? You got to bring that first. But I guess I really want to hear you about, where do you hear respect of one another coming in to this conversation, respecting each other?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one, because obviously without respect, there's no peace in a community. If I can, well, let's look at that word respect technically. So the word respect means to which means again, spect, look. So to respect something is to look again at something, to consider again something, to respect it. Now, if you're desperate, meaning you're living in sickness, hatred, ignorance, and poverty, especially poverty, it's very hard to look at anything other than your own poverty. This is why urban areas, poverty-stricken urban areas, is very little respect in that sense. Nobody's looking again at the other person when they're getting ready to make a decision. They're not taking into consideration even the consequences. They're not looking at themselves even. They're not respecting themselves. They're not looking at themselves again before they make this move. And so if you're in a desperate situation, poverty situation, no way out, I got to do this right now, respect is not respect doesn't matter here. Respect doesn't matter here. It's same thing with being in prison. It's like the idea is to avoid going to prison or being in prison, because once you're in there, there are rules to that. And it's like things like freedom. You can discuss freedom in prison, but it's out of context. You're not free. And especially if you're going to do 10, 20, 30 years, freedom, talking about freedom in prison is purely hypothetical. The same with talking about peace in poverty, or talking about respect in ignorance. Christopher Columbus discovered America. Hey, here's a better example. When we were growing up, when I was growing up, we saw cowboys and Indians. We're just kids growing up. TV comes on, white man shooting an Indian. Cowboy hat. We like, yo, he killed that Indian. I want to be the white man. I want to be him. I want to be the guy shooting. Even other Native Americans were rooting for the cowboy. Okay. Until you gain some kind of knowledge and you get some history in you. And then you say, let me respect this situation again. Let me look at it. But without that knowledge, respect is impossible. If you're in poverty, respect is not even the term. It's like you're in prison. It's like, you know what it's like? Respect and peace is the privilege of the privileged. Because in the South Bronx, these words are not, or put it this way, respect in a poverty-stricken situation is give me something. That's respect. Give me something, or not even give me something. Charity. Let me put it that way. Charity in the hood is respected. And respected, and let's not confuse the word respect with honor. It's both respected, meaning people will look again on you. If you know you the one coming on Thanksgiving with the turkeys, like Nino Brown in New Jack City, if you the one coming with the turkey, we respect you. You could be a drug dealer. You just killed my mom's last week with this crack. But on Thanksgiving, you came with a turkey. We respect you. That's the hood. The concept of this dude is the reason you're probably going to stay here for the rest of your life never occurs in your mind. And so without a proper education, without a sense of self-respect, trapped in a prison, these words are impossible. Now, I'll tell you what I think the solution is that those of us that escape the prison might have a duty to come back to the prison, Harriet Tubman style. You escape, you go back and try to pull 5 or 6 out. But even Harriet would tell you, she said, I could have freed more people if they knew they were slaves. Imagine that. Harriet Tubman coming by the plantation to free people. She starts singing that song. Oh, way down by the river, we over here, y'all. And people are like, nah, I can't. I don't think so. And about 2 or 3 say, nah, this is the end for me. I'm going to get rich or die trying. So let's go. And they run with Harriet. And Harriet said, you know how many people she had to try to convince to get free? How I got to convince you to get free from this terrorism that you live in every day? I got to convince you? Yes. Yes. So, yes, ma'am.
Chris, there's something I want to ask along those lines. Before you came on, we played the reparations, an idea whose time has come. The first campaign ad done by a presidential campaign ad who was promoting reparations. It's a historical ad. Marianne, her campaign created it in 2020.
Nice.
Could have freed more if they only knew, you know. And you have somebody like Marianne
like I was born and raised in Detroit. Okay. So when we look at the numbers in the campaign, we look at the number of people who at least have signed up as volunteers. Where the numbers are lacking is in Detroit. And one of the things Marianne wanted to do for outreach, and that's what I was ready to do. So I would go around and really tell people about what she's planning. You know, because reparations, they haven't heard of what she's doing with reparations.
LB, your voice went out a little bit.
How do I sound now?
You're good. You're cracking up, but I was hearing you, but it was staticky. I don't know if there's a connection.
I think what happened is my laptop went out, just like you want to do something like this, and you're the host, and then I have to switch to my cell phone, then suddenly, you know, that's what's going to not work.
I'm trying to be peace about that. Darn thing works all the time, but not right now. But with reparations, I'm thinking, you know, because I think about I grew up in deep poverty. Like I was so poor, the poor people, you know, teased me for being poor. I was poor, okay? Look at her, her clothes, her glasses, her hair, she's all messed up. It was like a sign, please kick me, just kick me, okay? But it was a blessing to grow up that way because I have the perspective, you know, where you can go back, respect, and look at that. And I see it as a challenge, but I also see it as a certain kind of genius because later on, when I ended up a divorced mother going to Salve Regina University, I had to do it because I had to take care of my kids, because I had to get out of this situation. And so some of the skills I used in order to survive Detroit, they made graduating cum laude at Salve Regina University was like, knock it out, baby, knock it out. And it's just that perspective. And so that perspective is what I want to try to bring to my people to understand this. Even though you see this woman, she's white. So, you know, we're not going to trust her because too many people who look like that have come and said this, that, and the third. They use us, they abuse us, they leave, and they're gone. So they're not even going to listen to her. They say, why are you listening to this white lady? That's what they say. I say, okay, one, let's go back and see how long she's been talking about this. Let's go back and see how long she's been writing about this. Let's go back and establish her because the lady got receipts. So our people understand receipts.
That's respect. They understand receipts, right? Now, if we can understand that this person is authentically supporting this, okay, and we know that getting people out of poverty is akin to establishing peace on some level, because taking them out of that poverty, how do we? Because what I see is this: if you don't like anything else, my brothers and sisters that I grew up, if you don't want to listen to the Department of Peace, if you don't want to listen to the Department of Children, and if you don't want to listen to all the things too, how about putting somebody in there who's been talking about this for decades, but put some money in your pocket within what, 24 months of being in office?
How about voting for that? Like I try to like break it down to things that mean something to my people because I know what it's like to live at that level. And like when you say in poverty, you can't have any peace. You can't. I co-wrote a book. No. I wrote a book called From the Crack of Hell to the Gates of Heaven for Reverend Delgado Lithicum. He used to sell drugs. He went to jail, turned around. Now he has a ministry. You know, he does painting ministry. He does carpentry because he said a man gonna eat. So if you don't give him something else that he can do that he can put his hands on, you gonna get it.
So I'm just like, if our society could just at least understand that by not respecting us, you put your own self in peril. Because there's no peace in my poverty for me, and there's no peace in my poverty for you either. See?
And so it's like, I feel like just getting people to understand how important it is to get someone in there that comes with receipts that at least will alleviate that poverty so that you can even start to contemplate peace, your self-worth. It's
how do we do that? Because you appreciate what's coming with. You know, I'm just breaking it down to the money. Because what you talk about in our community, like I told Marianne when we were going to Knowledge Cafe, okay, to go to Highland Park. Highland Park is right next to Detroit. And I said, okay, now we got to bring something. You know, they like, well, I said, if you don't come up in my house, in my community, and you're a guest, what you bring? I said, because when you leave, they're going to say, nah, that's right. Now they came all up in here, used our stuff, and they didn't bring nothing. So I said, we got to bring something, you know, because that's my community. That's respect. That's respect. And I'm thinking, how do we help our greater community, you know, in Detroit, in Chicago, in California, all of these. How do we help them appreciate just that in relation to the peace that it would bring? Just having somebody in office respect us enough to push the fact that there's a conversation
that needs to be done by the United States government, not white people, the United States government.
You know, that's wow, because you touched on a few things. First of all, dealing with our people just in general. Let me just start right there. You answered the question right at the beginning. We've been let down so many times, and from every face, white, black, Latino, Arab, and male, female, old, young, rich, they've all, and we've been let down by every face.
Yes.
Okay, so the apathy in our community is out of control, literally, and rightfully so. But again, the game, as was just mentioned, I say this on two levels. One, if I, not if I was married, if, let me just say this, that Marianne's revolution, Miss Williamson's revolution, is probably not with Black people altogether. Black intellectuals love her, like me. I like her mind. I like how she thinks. I like what she's willing to stand for. This kind of thing. I'm attracted to that kind of mind. So she's always going to get that kind of support from the Black community, the Cornel Wests, the others, the KRSs of the world, of the Black community. She's going to get that. But to make serious change for that community, or for Detroit, period, or say Baltimore, period, like the whole of it, and the whole of Detroit, and some other areas as well, we could always say. But I mean, Detroit's an interesting place without going too far into that. It's an interesting place, Detroit, in terms of what politics can do with that. But it seems like she's going to have to win over the white community, because here's the thing that I noticed, and this is coming from a music point of view. I'm going to limit myself to musicology here, or at least marketing, right? Not even musicology. That's too good. Let's bring it all the way down to just crass marketing. Most people follow people who they believe got other people following them. So, and by the way, nobody's talking to anybody, okay? So everyone's believing based on their phone or whatever they get their information from. They believe in who you are, who's following you. They don't know who's following you. They believe. You might have some likes, you might have 100 hits, you might have this, that, and the other. So people say, oh, we believe that this is what it is. But if you can somehow make the perception of that belief, meaning that make the perception of that belief appeal to young white voters, nothing in this country has ever changed unless them young white voters got behind that. That's why the George Floyd protests was such a threat to the United States. Yes, white folk have protested in every Black protest there has been probably since Frederick Douglass, okay? There's been white folk marching with us. You can look at the pictures of Dr. King, white folk all in the pictures marching, front lines, okay? They're there. But somehow on not Rodney King, because the white folk were marching there too for Rodney King. But with George Floyd, somehow that march, somehow Black Lives Matter started to look white, and in a way like abolition, like in a way like John Brown, in a way like, we're getting sick of this BS as a country. We need to do something. And mind you, I'm a harsh critic. I think the energy was wasted. I think the George Floyd energy was wasted. It's in a similar way, in the way in which 9/11, America's 9/11, when everybody was behind America in that sense. America could have did any kind of evil scheme it wanted to do at that particular moment. The world would have just said, we're with it. But no, what America do? Just botched up its image in the world, where it could have took that horrible moment and led the world. It resorted back to violence, back to this, back to the, so the same with George Floyd in that sense. And really that whole 2 years, Eric Gardner and Breonna Taylor and all of that whole time, we could have galvanized that energy, but we would have had to been a lot more radical than just protesting in the street. We would have we had to quit some jobs, like some jobs from the higher up would have had to gotten quit. And yeah, yes, yes. You know, I see. That's what I'm saying. I see you. No, so the Panther would have had to come out. And no, we weren't ready for that. So now here's the next piece that I'm trying to bring up. First piece is young white voters are really the change of this country. They're the ones that sit down at the table with the very person you're voting against. In that sense, they're saying you may have an issue as a black family and say, "Yo, Roe v. Wade. Let's bring this back, or let's try to restore." You could discuss that as at the dinner table as African Americans. Nothing's going to change. Simple and plain. White folk, they sit down at the table. Their father might be the judge. Their mother might actually be the clerk. They're in that, like the same way they would look at us and say, I really want my son to play football. I really want my son to play football. And white folks are at a disadvantage of that. Like we at a disadvantage with government on their end. They're at a disadvantage with sports, music, art, all that stuff. They get ostracized. I know some really good white basketball players, dudes that I would have on my team any day. But because they white, they're never going to get picked for nothing. Period. Okay? It's not happening. The marketing wants to see the tall black man dunking that ball. That's what it is. The marketing of it needs to see that. The stereotype of it, the casting of this. I don't believe that white men can't jump. I don't believe that white men can jump. I don't believe they can play that. Sure, play hockey. Yeah, I could be. These are the stereotypes that stagnate in everybody. Everybody's getting hit with this. Okay, everybody. Same thing with art. I know some dope MCs, white kids, good, okay, at rap. I'm black, okay. I'm like, yo, you're good, okay. This is hot, okay. They'll never. You think Sony would think about and I don't want to call Sony out, but any of these companies, I mean, they'll not even think about this kid and his nothing, okay? What are they looking for? The next Nelly, the next Kendrick Lamar, the next whatever that looks black, okay? That's what they look for. They don't care about your talent. And so the same thing here arises with 14 million African Americans seeking justice, seeking better economic opportunities, seeking education, seeking justice in the courts. Here we come, 14 million of us. Even if, and President Obama's a look at this, even if all 14 million of us voted, like miraculously, all 14 million black people voted in this country, we still couldn't get anything changed. Simple and plain. For Obama to become president, white folk had to say, we're voting for this dude, okay? And them numbers had to be way higher than 14 million. Try 100 million, 80 million. Half the country, more than half the country got to be down with this for it to happen. And guess what? The only other thing that moved the country like Obama did, the only other movement that can move white people like this is hip hop. That's it. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. You get white folk behind a message, or if hip hop or hip hop's white folk get behind a message, it's over. The game is over, because it's not even about the game anymore. It's about those who create G's and A's and M's and E's. It's not the game anymore. We know the formula. Well, we have the mathematics down. And believe this, more and more people are questioning this system. That's why I say Marianne is before her time. You know, I mean, we need her now, no question. But this is a candidate that's coming 10 years from now. I hope she has stamina to run. But you know, she's way ahead of her time. She's like Harriet Tubman. She's like Shirley Chisholm is who I want to say. I want to compare her to Shirley. Yes, I do, in the sense that, you know, I heard Shirley Chisholm say in a documentary, she said, I know I'm not going to win this presidency. And to say that with people investing in your presidency, you believing you're going to win, you're taking all this time to do this, you're out there campaigning. She actually said to a news person, she said, I know I'm not going to win this candidacy, but if I don't run, there'll never be another person who'll be able to run. She said, my running of this candidate, my candidacy is going to ensure that it'll be easier for the next person to actually win. And it was her, then it was Jesse, then it was Obama. And all of them, by the way, were supported by a huge white audience. Huge white audience. Black folk supported by a huge white young audience, revolutionary audience. That's what got Obama in. Obama, believe it or not, was radical and revolutionary for his time. You know, for what people wanted. He was just coming out of Bush and all of that. People were scared to talk about the war, and only hip hop was talking about the war and like the injustice of it and all that. We was up here talking, well, us and some more enlightened minds. Obviously, we shout out Howard Zinn and Manufacturing Dissent. Everybody that spoke out during those times. But hip hop had its voice in that talk as well. Others were scared. Obama came out, started talking about the war and how we should never, and we can make change, and we can change. Change is another word for revolution. Oh man, come on. It was, but now who's next? Who's next? He went through 8 years. Woof, that was gone. Okay, black folks still in the same situation, even worse, actually, to be honest, and not putting that on him. Just the time we went through, things that he couldn't even, you know, we look at Obama like Superman, like he was going to change everything. No, that's not. We're looking at this realistically. And first of all, if you really study his presidency, the Republican Party stopped every single one of his initiatives. Every single thing he tried to do, including Michelle Obama. She had a nice initiative on soft drinks and too much sugar going into the kids and all that. They shut that down so quick. She said, y'all need to stop drinking these soft drinks. Coca-Cola was like, oh no, this woman here has got to go. Okay, no, they should. And I remember, because I'm studying their campaign. I studied the whole campaign for 8 years. I kept my eye on it, saved newspaper articles, the decisions that were made, killing of Gaddafi, invading Syria, all of that, okay? Out of all of that, Obama was still kind of radical for presidents and for his time, real radical on that level. But black folks stayed in the same situation. And even though he could, like if white folk gave him everything he wanted, maybe we would be in a better situation. Maybe. But we'll never know, because it was a deliberate attempt to shut down everything. That Supreme Court shutdown was criminal, where he brought a person to put on the Supreme Court, and the actual Republican Party just refused to even, like, how do you do that? Like, how isn't that against the law? Like, isn't that criminal? Like, isn't, like, no, it just went down. President Obama's first inaugural speech, his first State of the Union, not inaugural, State of the Union speech, his first one, if you remember, South Carolina representative or Senate governor, you lie. He's giving his speech, man, you lie. Just total disrespect, just like Smith's the president now. No, he's just a boy to me. I'm South Carolina. I'm gonna da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I mentioned all of these as examples of the state in which we're in, the state in which a Marianne is in and the strategy by which they can be employed. If white folk believe that black folk are behind you, they may get behind you too. People, and this is the thing, white folk are respectful, I would say, and honorable to black leadership. I will say that these minority people who talk for all white people, you got to be able to look past that. Okay, that's like everybody got that dude in their culture that feels like he's talking for everybody. In that sense, and sometimes these dudes say the wildest things. Well, white folk got the same people, okay? They stand up, other white people looking at them like, what is this dude saying? Like, who is this, okay? But this guy got the CNN. This guy is on Fox News. This guy is the one talking to everybody. So he's representing or she's representing the white view. We know that that's BS. So if we know that, we got to put that aside. We got to put that aside, and we got to deal with the humanity of a person. It's the word we brought up. The humanity. How do we respect the humanity of another person? Well, this comes back to that because first, let me put a period here. I think we should focus on white participation more, not more. We need all the black participation we can get, even just as voters, but also as advisors. Yes, we need black participation. But to get even up, for us to even get something, okay, we need this majority vote right over here, this majority vote. Marianne stands with the right causes, and that's always been a detriment to politics. You know, the one that stands on a right cause is the one that doesn't get the investment, the airtime. Why? Because you stand on the right cause. The one willing to lie and cheat and steal, this is the one who gets the airtime. And guess what? With no disrespect at all, Donald Trump is king in terms of stealing, lying. I mean, look at the game being played. In a lot of ways, I would say Miss Williamson is too good for this game. I would say this is more of like a princess in a white dress in the mud, in a pigsty. And I'm talking about Snow White, if I could be racially
If I told her that and she doesn't like it, I'm like, you're good for her. But I know what you're saying. I
you
know
know, she's in a dirty situation. She got a white dress on and she's in the mud, you know, with these people. And then of course, hey, here's the thing. So who can you trust? Like, who can you really trust? At that level, you know, even from black leadership's point of view, you know, who can you really trust there either? Because who can she really turn to and say, look, you know, like let's say tomorrow Marianne becomes president, like straight up, and it can happen. Like, boom, she's the one. Look, before I say that, let me say this, that look at the Republican candidate, Haley, the woman,
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Nikki Haley. Now, when she first started, nobody even thought that she would wind up where she is now, in that sense, and that's how this politics works, in that sense. If you're a leader all the time. I don't think, you know, I don't think she is, but I don't think Marianne is really caught up in this particular election cycle. Yes, there's certain, you know, you got to meet certain criteria for this particular cycle and all of this type of stuff, and we know that. But certain of us are leaders for real and leaders all the time. And Marianne is definitely that. Anybody who's advising anyone on their spiritual development is a leader all the time. And so there's no loss for her because she's not even really part of the game. You have to lose or to win, you got to actually be part of the game. Here you have a person who's actually in the game, but not of the game. So it's like, what is she really going to win? She's going to win the hearts of people. Like, in other words, people are going to vote for her in other areas of life. And she might want to look at that herself, because like a vote is not just political. You could vote for your best chef. You could vote for your best spiritual teacher. You could vote for your best sports figure, your best rapper or DJ. You can vote for that and support that and so on. And like I said, the same way Marianne attracted me to her campaign, I know she could attract millions of other people just like me. But just like me, I'm ostracized and marginalized from the airwaves as well. Because if you are speaking any kind of truth, okay, no, this is not the medium for that. This is the medium for lies and for liars and for thieves and for stolen goods. That's what this has become. And it's a shame that this is what we're dealing with. But a person like Marianne becomes a fresh air, becomes a breath of fresh air, where every once in a while we're going to see her pop up somewhere, and she's going to speak that truth. And people are going to get it, and she's going to save real lives. It's different from somebody like a DeSantis or somebody who's, you can tell, has no soul whatsoever. And I don't say that disrespectfully. I'm just saying straight up, like, take a look at dude. Like, I'm just saying, okay, dude has no soul, okay, right there. And on top of that, you ain't even trying to win souls. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even trying. You just say, listen, I'm a racist, and that's it. And so y'all gonna deal with this, and that's what it is. So
Chris, I have a question on that. Going into when you're talking about the message that Marianne speaks. One of your videos that I watched and listened to, you talked about seeing the God in someone. And I feel like that's also the message that Marianne speaks. And so I feel like a lot of this work is about healing. She talks about healing yourself first. But how is it possible, or what is the solution, or what do you think the solution is to each individual healing themselves when there's so much that we have to kind of fight in the world to get a level playing field? Like, how can you focus? And I think it's intentional. They know it's intentional to know thyself, and you talk about knowledge and wisdom, but it's hard for us to get to know our true self because we're battling so many external worldly things.
Right.
So how can we do that in the state that we're in to really flip the coin here?
That's wow. You're really picking my brain right now. I would say this, and this is a freestyle. This is off the top of my head. There's something about vaccinations that could be applied to social injustice as well. Meaning that, yes, there's so much chaos and disillusion and confusion around us. But if you take in a little bit of it, you might become immune to it. Meaning that okay, from a vegetarian point of view. So I'm more of a pescatarian myself. I eat fish. I try to stay away from shellfish, but the oysters and the clams just keep calling me. But I like fish. And so for 40 years of my life, I leaned toward a vegetarian diet with occasional fish. That's my diet. One day, I get sick. I'm throwing up. Vertigo. I'm like, what is going on? I just came from a trip. I get home. I'm like, what is happening? I can't keep nothing down. What's going on with me? Now I'm living about the healthiest life I think I could. What is happening to me? So something comes to me, and God forgive me for calling you something, but something comes to me, and says, go to the Jamaican spot and get oxtails. Now, mind you, I don't eat oxtails, never had this. 40 years, nothing, okay? Says, yo, go to the Jamaican store and get oxtails. So I didn't go, I sent Simone. She went. Come back with the oxtails. I'm bugging out. I'm looking at, why am I doing this? But I learned to be obedient to that still small voice. I've learned this. And I've learned to move forward courageously and without judgment. This is the key. Without judgment. Because I was judging myself completely. Why am I sitting here with this oxtail? I eat the oxtails. It was the best food I ever had in my life. I love these oxtails. I ate the oxtail. Guess what? I started feeling better. It stayed down. I'm feeling good. I rested, woke up. I'm back up. I said, wait a minute. What happened? What's going on here? What happened? So I go back to my fish diet. I said, no, that was just a one fling, one little thing, and I'm done. That was it. Get to do some more research. That still small voice is leading me around, leading me to healing. But the healing was against my principles. Get this. The healing that I needed was against 40 years of my life. I do further research. I realized I might have been deficient on B12, the B complex vitamins. And I say I might have because as I'm doing research, trying to figure out how can oxtails do this for me, I find out that the body cannot live without B12, specifically the B12 vitamin. It needs all the B complexes, but specifically B12, which is found only in beef. Only in beef. So I said, for 40 years, I've been going with a B12 deficiency. Now I'm getting B12 from other things. You can get small amounts of B12 in fruits and vegetables, but nobody eats a ton of carrots to get the amount of B12 or a ton of something else to get what you can get out of a hamburger or you can get out of oxtails or you can get out of something else and this kind of thing. I thought about it. I said, wait a minute. Number one, sometimes what you think is the evil, the contradiction, the threat, is actually the cure. That the cure comes with an evil face on it. And this is what I learned, that in nature, nature's cures come looking crazy, ugly and crazy. And the thing that'll kill you comes looking beautiful and easy to touch and acquire and all of this. It's like roses come with thorns, you know, but certain poisonous plants, you can just rub up on them. Like, you're like, yo, you know, poison ivy and all this stuff. You get caught up in the jungle, not knowing what you rubbing up on. You know, you get caught out there. But the most beautiful flowers are guarded and given off certain things for predators not to eat them, and you know, this kind of thing. Nature speaks like this. So there's something about vaccination, meaning that a little racism might be good for us. The person, if told as a young man or woman, if told as a young person, you're black, you never gonna make it, because you black. you're not going to make it. Racist remark. You're black, and because you're black, you're not going to make it. You're inferior to me, who has made it because I'm white, not because of anything else, but because of my whiteness, I have made it. And because of your blackness, you're not going to make it. That's the textbook of racism right there. Okay. Because of your race, I perceive you as inferior to me. Okay. I'm trying to rationalize that in my own head. But anyway, a little bit of that might motivate you to become a PhD. Many people actually were told, a variety of people, Native Americans, Latinos, other white people, sometimes when you're put down, it lifts you up. And sometimes when you're told you're great, it brings you down. You can't live up to the greatness, so you don't do anything. Other people, if pushed down or told they're never going to be something, find the motivation to prove you wrong. I just don't believe you. I'm going to become something. Because you said that, I found the motivation to do this. A little bit of hate might be great. I'm an MC, I can't help myself. But a little bit of hate might do you some good. A little bit of racism, a little bit of theft. To feel what it's like to lose a possession that you really wanted might add something to you. This idea, the weirdest thing about being impoverished, the Queen just said it, that we grew up poor, not even poor. We were so poor, we missed the OR. We were poor, okay? I know what that's like. Oh, yes, indeed. That kind of poorness, okay? But it did instill a certain character. It instilled a certain strength as well. In fact, in philosophy, we have a saying that says, those that are happy with a little will be happy with a lot. Those that are unhappy with a little will be unhappy with a lot. And poverty teaches you this in a weird way. It's like, we were happy. We learned later that we were poor. Okay. But when we was actually 5 and 6 and 7 years old playing, imagine, they tell us now that the fire hydrants in New York City were poisonous. They had lead in them, all types of pharmaceuticals, and rats used to float in the water. This is the water we were drinking, bathing in, playing our music. This was it. But because we didn't even think, we said, what? We didn't even think about this. Like, what, a rat? It's a rat, whatever. We drinking the water, whatever, lead all in the water, okay? We drinking the water. This New York City in the 70s and the 80s, that's what it was, okay? We drinking the water. Years later, nothing. In fact, we invent hip hop. And I have a theory that says that maybe hip hop came out that hydrant because we was immersed in this chemical that we called water. But later on, they told us this thing coming out, that, it was crazy what was coming out that hydrant. But we was there. So I say this, and obviously it inoculated us. Because I'm still here. I'm fairly healthy, I guess. Mentally, I think I'm sane. And so the water didn't affect me or Method Man or anybody else that might have drank that water during those times. It didn't really affect us like this. So I say this to say that a little opposition might be good for the goddess. That how do you find peace and tranquility with all of this going on around you? And one of the answers is that you use it. You use it. Like, for instance, if there's war all around you, that war is begging for peace. It's like, if you know you are divine, and this is only advice for divine, for divinity, because an average person can't do this. If you stuck every day in that regular grade school education, you can't do this. This is for those who are on a path of self-discovery, where every day it's not even the goal that's important, it's the path itself. The journey itself is what is the discovery. And so as you go, you realize at some point that self is always with you. It's always here. It's always here. The ultimate state of enlightenment, at least from a hip hop point of view, is self-acceptance. This is the ultimate state. Self-acceptance. Imagine at some point, the Buddha has to accept himself. At some point, the fasting ceases, the meditation ends, the breathing technique stops. At some point, you say, I'm here. Or, like most people say, or most people could feel, not even most people, most enlightened people, they feel that they never became enlightened. You know, you never really feel enlightened, especially if you're on a path of truth. Where's the enlightenment? Every day I wake up feeling dumber. I learn something new every single day. When do you stop learning? Where is the enlightenment? Somebody can tell me something tomorrow that changes my entire view of life. That can happen tomorrow. I leave my mind open for a suggestion that I might be wrong about everything. Everything I might be wrong. I leave the door open. Hey, convince me. Give me some evidence. Give me some proof. Give me some data. Give me something that's going to change my view. I tell you, in my brief 58 years, I haven't had anybody tell me anything different than what the observable truth has already shown. And in answering of your question, vaccination, it's a wonderful thing to live in poverty. Damn, did I say that? No, it's not wonderful to live in poverty. It makes you desperate. But if you are divine, that same poverty, you use it to get where you gotta go. And this is what I was gonna say. Actually, I was gonna say this, that you never feel like you made it. You never feel. Somebody asked me the other day, not the other day, yesterday. I was with George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic. This brother is 82 years old, okay? He jumping around like me. And I'm like, yo, first of all, this is a good friend of mine. We know our families know each other for years. Actually, those that know my music, I recorded Jack of Spade at George Clinton's house back in the 90s. That's how far back we go. And the last time we met was in Germany. We was in Germany together. Both of us had shows. We met, we talked, his family it was wonderful. We didn't see each other for like another 6 or 7 years, like 7 years ago. We just saw each other last night. And we were getting awards. And it was Attorney Benjamin Crump who was giving us these awards. So Attorney Benjamin Crump is giving us these awards thing. And this is the thing. This is the deal right here. That you know, you would think that somebody like George Clinton, like I don't know if he wrote a book or not, but his story must be crazy. I mean, you know, everything. He's 82. He did everything. Okay, everything. This is a master right here. And you would think to yourself that he would be down and sad or whatever, you know, in that sense. And here he is living his life. And I tell you how I know he's living his life. Because he's interpreting everything that's coming to him. It's one of the kindergarten lessons of metaphysics, where you learn that the observer and the observed is the same thing. That the observer is actually, what they say, collapsing the waveform. In other words, what you are looking at, you're making what it is that's in your sight. It doesn't matter what's happening to you. It's your interpretation of what's happening to you. All of these little sayings point directly to the vaccination, to the idea that what's wrong, what could possibly be a threat if you can perceive any event the way you want it to, the way you want to perceive it. So there is no threat. It's a change of your mind. Not even a change, it's a maturity of mind where you say, I'm now this. I'm going to conduct myself like this. Everything coming to me is good. Everything coming to me is good. I perceive it that way. I'm going to attract that. I'm going to do everything in my power to attract good to me. So even when something that appears evil, something that appears non-productive comes my way, I'm still going to perceive it as good. Now, some people might say, you living in a dream world, okay? They stole your car, okay, with your computer in it, and you needed that for next week. How is that good? This is the part where you really have to put your foot on the path of light and say, am I really living a spiritual life, or am I living a material, worldly life? And the Spirit will test you just like this. But I'm here to let you know that if you stay steadfast to the path you said you're on, you get everything. Whatever's taken from you, you get it back tenfold. Whenever you get sick, it's because you're getting healthier. Whenever you get, it's amazing, okay? It's amazing. These techniques are not entertainment. This is life, science of life. And the science of life clearly shows you, first, life is what you make it. Sick. Now, how you gonna make it? I see everyone as good. I see everything as my good. Now, in one breath, you're bugging. Everything ain't good. And everybody ain't good, okay? We're not looking at that. But wait, we're going to take a little bit of that, not the extreme. We're not going to swallow the whole thing. Can you just a little bit say, everybody is good? I'm going to believe that just 20%, 10%, 10%, everybody's good.
Absolutely. You say amen on that. I mean,
10%, everybody's good. That 10%, though, will outshine the other 90. If we could find any good in a person, it will obliterate whatever. It's sort of like dealing with a sick person or dealing with a kid. When a child screams, 5-year-old screaming, for no reason. Well, there's always a reason, but no social reason. This is a place where your mouth's supposed to be shut. You screaming, This kid, you're not gonna abuse. You shouldn't abuse the kid for screaming. You try to deal with the kid. It's the patience of a parent. Your infant is crying. Why? Because they want milk or they need to be burped. You don't yell at the kid. You don't yell at it. Like if you feed your kid with a bottle and the kid cries because I guess they have gas or need to be burped, you don't yell at the kid. Yo, stop yelling. You know the kid needs something. So if you could treat difficult people like this, and this is the people part of it, that difficult people who show out, belligerent people with hate on their heart, these are sick people. And if you can deal with the sickness of the person, see, most of us get caught up in that first attitude right here. What you call me? What you say? How you come? Because they said it. They said, da, da, da. And you're like, what? But if they could say, da, 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 like notice the patience of a doctor. You know, a doctor's got sick people coming in. Sometimes people be screaming, I don't want it. I don't need it. And the doctor got to chill and be like, yo, listen, you're going to need this. Now, look, it's up to you. You're going to, and the doctor got to be patient. And the doctor got, even the nurses, they got to, even if they got to hold you down, they're trying to do it with some professionalism, trying to strap you down in this thing and get you going. But the thing is that the doctor still sees the good in you, even though you're sick and belligerent for the doctor. It's a discipline where I could see the immaturity in you as you're disrespecting me or as you're coming as a threat to me or whatever it is. I see this as an immaturity. Now I can leave the situation. I could try to deal with it right there. Yes, ma'am.
Education. And I want us to stay here forever, especially since Dr. Cliff just showed up. He's our doctor.
Oh,
I want to make sure.
your mic is going.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
Oscar, KRS-one, KRS-one.com. I want us all to be able to avail ourselves to this wonderful, magnificent teaching that you are giving, because I'm just indulging in you, but I want to make sure that everybody knows to go to KRS-one.com so that we can continue this, because I believe that in order to achieve peace in this world, in this country, teachers like you and Marianne are who we all need to respect ourselves and respect, like, stop and take that look again. I never heard respect broken down for me like you just did tonight. And I just want to thank you so much for that. And before we segue, because I'm supposed to be leading, but I'm just enjoying you, I would love if Dr. Cliff would kind of address, because he may have a question, what you were just saying right there as a doctor, an analogy.
How's your time, Chris?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm really good. Yeah, I'm good.
okay. I don't want you to leave. I got one thing I want to say before you leave. That's okay. But Dr. Cliff, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, it's so wonderful. KRS, I'm sitting there vibing off of everything that you're saying, the quantum laws of physics, the observed and the observer. Absolutely. It is truly what we collapse this world down to in terms of how we look at things. And no, I'm laying back just enjoying this. So I'm just sorry I got to this whole show so late. We had guests come in from California, but I did not want to miss this. So it's an honor to be here, everyone. It's wonderful to see the smiling faces.
Let me just throw in for KRS edification that Dr. Cliff Morris is a national lifestyle physician, has his own lifestyle clinic not worldwide, but nationwide, I'm sure. And he's really an expert. And so I just want to let you know that that's who you're talking to right now.
No doubt. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're all here for one mission, and that is this whole issue of peace. What it is going to do for all of us. I've been on the front lines, and I can tell you that it is definitely having an impact on. I've seen so many patients coming in my office this week, the last several weeks, with just hearts racing. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that it has everything to do with what's going on in our entire world. And so, what can I do as a doctor, as a physician, to try and ameliorate the situation and do the best I can for my patients? KRS-One, you mentioned, how well can you stay kind of on point? How well can you stay? I mean, if I come in to the office and I come into a person's room and I'm as chaotic as the situation is, versus me being kind of calm in my own peace, being able to hopefully try to instill some peace in that patient or, in the person I'm dealing with. I mean, that is my mission, that is objective. And I find that when I'm able to really hold steady in that, that's when I can kind of, it's like if you have a flame, then there's no darkness, when you walk in the room. And so when I think of what Marianne Williamson is bringing to this whole table is that flame. That's the flame that this dark world needs. And I'm looking forward to seeing all that she has to bring and doing all that I can. I think if we don't do something at this point, it really is quite irresponsible, honestly. And so what small things we can possibly do to bring some level of peace into this world. And if I can do it through my doctor's office, if I can do it, in my own personal life, and if I can do it by putting her into the White House, then that's what I'm here to do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Flip.
Well,
and if ever, remember, Marianne2024.com/donate. Take it back, Chris.
hey, I need to make a song like that, right? You just talked up a chorus right there. No, I mean, look, that piece part, and Dr. the physician was so correct. If you imagine you come into a position and the physician's stressed out. Like, think about that. There's a movie called The Watchmen. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was like a quasi superhero movie, but it's called The Watchmen. And in The Watchmen, they have a scene where this guy is totally depressed, ready to end it all, and he's just totally done. Okay, and he goes to a psychiatrist, and he's laying there, and he's telling the psychiatrist everything. He's like, I just want to end it. I just want to end it. Help me. Tell me something that's gonna help me. And the psychiatrist says, I got it. I got it. Up the block is a show with a famous comedian. There's a show that's gonna happen up the block. If you see this comedian, he's sure to pick your spirits up. There's a famous comedian called Giovanni, famous comedian Giovanni. And then the patient there turns to the psychiatrist and says, but doctor, I am Giovanni. and it's a hopeless situation right there. Because the very thing that the doctor said, he said, look, go see this comedian. He's going to lift you up. The guy says, I am that comedian. That's my show. I'm him. So there's no one for me. There's nobody. There's nothing. So this is the thing. It's like, I applaud you right now because there's something to be said about excellence in work. As well, and excellence in your work, which we didn't discuss, which I think has a lot to do with peace as well. That knowing the excellence of your work, there's a certain peace that I get having accomplished a job well done. If you know there was and not always a challenge, but a job that needs to get done, and you do it and it's done. Even down to, just like washing dishes even. There's a pile, there's a sink, is crazy, okay? Yesterday's meal in the sink. And you say, look, I'm just gonna tackle this. Okay, it's gonna take an hour, but I'm gonna get this through. Hour goes by, your kitchen's looking great. You hit that dim light and you're like, yeah, this is what it is. There's a sense of peace that comes over you with accomplishment. And not many people are feeling accomplished, which is interrupting their sense of contentment and peace. But accomplishment comes through excellence in work. Like, you're not going to accomplish anything doing it halfway. That excellence in work, wanting to to yeah, wanting to be the best at what you do, wanting to seek perfection at what you do, whether you achieve it or not. The reaching for it is a state of excellence. And there's something to be said about accomplishment that brings peace. Some people look at that accomplishment in terms of money. They say, with a lot of money, I'll have peace. And we see that just, I don't know, every generation got to learn the same lesson over and over and over again. Rich folk are not really at peace. Now, there are some, of course, but like I said, they were already happy with themselves when they didn't have no money. So now they have some money. They're like, well, look, it's the same old me again. But a lot of people that I see, especially in the music industry, those that you might see on award shows and come up with these videos and stuff like that, they're crying themselves to sleep at night. Their lives are terrible. And in the sense that it wasn't what they planned for themselves. Mm. I mean, after all these years, okay, I just saw the other day, I don't want to bring this up into the conversation, but as an example, I just saw in the news last night, Sean Puffy Combs, accused of rape. Now, Puffy, now, if you know Puffy, something stupid's going on, okay? That can't be the charge, okay? That can't be the charge. Something's going on. Something's happening. Internal conflict. I'm going to get back at you. Something's happening. Or you did, behind the scenes, you was this animal behind the scenes. All these years, this is what it really was. We don't know. But the thing is that how can a person like that find peace? Here you are in this scandal. Scandal doesn't bring peace either. And even though you have big scandals on TV and stuff, no, you got them little project scandals too, little neighborhood scandals. So much so, you have those internet scandals, online scandals where kids are actually taking their lives based on what somebody said online or some argument, or some character assassination online, and suddenly you feel you're taking your life now because of what was said online. This is where I think spirituality means a lot, because if you got someplace else to go, other than this material world, if this is all you got, then yeah, maybe taking your life might be because this is it. This is all you got. And if you're hopeless here, there's no place else to go. But spirituality gives you a place to go. Yeah, jump in.
Not clear.
Come in.
We have another video. We talk about spirituality. That's the thing that Marianne is bringing that a lot of people don't say
and video where she's talking at the Parliament of World Religions that I think is a wonderful example of what she's bringing to us as a leader that nobody else has ever thought. Maybe Martin Luther King, but he didn't run for president. But like Oscar and I often talk about her, and she's at the level of a Gandhi and a
Say it again one more time.
Let me see if I can decipher what I think she may be saying. We have a video. It's a short video we want to play. It's and she said she'd like for you to see it before you leave. We're actually scheduled till 11 o'clock. We're coming up on that. So maybe, and I had the last thing I want to. Well, first we want to thank you immensely, KRS, for coming out with us, spending this time with us. Your genius, your spirituality, who you are, who your being is just awesome. And I feel your being in my heart. And I think I felt that when we first met. So I just wanted to express that. So we're going to play the video. And the other thing I just want to ask, you KRS, we haven't talked directly. I've been talking with Joey, your assistant, and also Simone, who is your wife, and we haven't talked directly, but I want to make sure you know who we are. So Step in America is this group of people here. We're part of that effort. We've got it's about 100 some people we have on Facebook, and we have another group online on a website called stepinamerica.com. And those people we can consider radical experts for Marianne. I'm not to say that.
Nice.
And, so I think what I'm looking for, and I think we're all looking for, is maybe we don't want to lose you, brother. We don't want to lose you, and you may have some thoughts about next steps for you as you see you can fit in with us or the campaign. We're not directly affiliated with the campaign. However, we are 100% supportive of Marianne. We're in communication with Marianne and her assistant, Wendy, who you have met. But if you can just think about that maybe, and maybe some last words from you would be great after this video, if that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So there we go. You're muted, Ray. You're muted.
Yeah. No, I just muted myself so I don't make noise.
No. I was talking about Ray. Ray, you're muted.
Oh, I'm back mute.
Thank you. What an extraordinary opportunity to have a world parliament of religions, to have people representing religions from all over the world throughout our great tapestry of history here in order to not only support each other, but to support the common mission, that common mission being to live the lives that we are all called to, at the core of the universality of the themes that we all share. But I think also we have the opportunity, being here together, to do the work of religion within ourselves. And one of the great religious principles is to purify your own heart and atone for your own mistakes. So as lovely as it is that at this year's Parliament of World Religions, women's voices are given the power and the privilege that we have at this great gathering, as women, let us just point out, not with anger or with rancor, that the history of religion has not been so good to women.
We're all scared.
And to be honest, in many of the great institutionalized religions that are represented even here at this parliament, they're not doing so good even today. So let's take a moment to atone in our hearts to be honest and be real. Because religion, when it refuses to be honest and refuses to be real, allows itself merely to be co-opted by the very forces we are here to protect human beings from. And that is why many of the female voices rising today in religious fervor, forming a new vortex of priestesshood, are finding ourselves at sometimes working within religious institutions, at other times not welcomed in our true femaleness and practicing our priestesshood elsewhere. Every woman here who is a healer is a priestess. Every woman here who is a teacher or an educator is a priestess. Every woman here who feels in her heart that she was sent by divine mission, the same small voice for God that not only leads the great religious figures to perform their divine mission, but which Mahatma Gandhi said was the leader of the Indian independence movement. No matter whether it's political or religious or educational or business or science or politics, whatever, we are here, and this is the true religious calling, to answer to that small, still voice within and lay it down wherever we are. And so the last thing that would serve a world parliament of religions, and the last thing that would serve the women of the world, is for any of us to be too self-congratulatory at this time. Every woman needs to understand that living a meaningful life is not a popularity contest. Every religion, every religious leader, every woman needs to understand if what you're saying is always getting applause, you're probably not yet doing the right stuff. Because if we are to truly stand for the reclamation of the heart of humanity, we must remember that we live today on a planet that is not organized according to principles that reclaim the heart of humanity. World civilization today is predicated on principles that break the heart of humanity. World civilization today is predicated on principles that foster separation and not unity, that foster greed over humanitarianism, and that foster devolution and destruction and decay of the earth and the living things upon it more than the rebirth of the possibilities divinely inspired in all of us by which we might become a human race at peace with each other, with our God, and with our planet. So when we talk about nonviolent resistance, don't just concentrate on the nonviolent part, also concentrate on the resistance parts. Let us remember the women on the planet today who are raped, who are tortured, whose children are killed, whose husbands are killed, whose brothers are killed, who they themselves are killed, and sometimes, yes, in the name of religion. Let us not forget that. And let us not forget that to speak in real solidarity with such women, I ask myself, for instance, as an American woman, what if every American woman had laid down on the highways across America and said, no, you will not invade Iraq. No, you will not do that to the women of Iraq. No, you will not do that to their children. No, you will not bomb their homes. I also know that to have called for that at the time would have gotten no real reaction. But we, you, I, this is our job. Let us create our societies in whatever area we are. If you're an educator, if you're a healer, if you're a religious leader, if you're whatever you do, let us prepare the ground, fertilize the soil, prepare the listening, so that as women do find their voices and men find their voices, we must remember that passionate, free-thinking women have never been deeply appreciated by the great religions of the world, because passionate, free-thinking women raise passionate, free-thinking children, and passionate, free-thinking children grow up to be passionate, free-thinking adults, and passionate, free-thinking adults are very difficult to manipulate and almost impossible to control. Let us remember whether it is within religious institution or any other, when a woman truly speaks from the depth of her heart, she might not be deeply appreciated by the men in the room. She might not be deeply appreciated by other women in the room. But if even one man says, I support her and I stand for her, and if even one woman says, I support her and I stand with her, what that's called is a miracle. What that's called is a revolution. What that is called is a true divine goddess, because the divine goddess is not just beautiful, she's fierce. And when you mess with her babies, and you mess with her earth, she's had enough of that. And we're here on her behalf. That stuff, you know what to do. Go do it. Thank you very, very, very much.
That was Amazing. Chris, what are your thoughts?
That was electrifying. Wow. That was it. That's the whole speech. That's it. That's that everything was said right there. And she even echoed some of what we actually said here tonight. That's it. No, that was an amazing speech. That was very electrifying. And imagine we're watching it out of context here on the chat. The people who were there, I know they felt the spirit. You could feel it here. So imagine being in the room, while she lays it down. Now that was brilliant. That was it. What's there to say? That hallelujah. Wow. Well, look, let me take this last moment and say thank you to all of you, because I'd like to be part of this kind of forum. If we have it again, I'm definitely available. You guys are always welcome to attend our temple, the Temple of Hip Hop. We're at 55 Ludlow Street at Newark, New Jersey, Brick City. And we're over there. We're trying to lift that community up. Something that Marianne just said. She just said it. She said, wherever you are, try to create the groundwork for this community. Try to create the groundwork, even for what we're saying, create the groundwork for peace, create the groundwork for justice, create the groundwork for better education and higher consciousness, from wherever you are. And so here we are in the hip hop corridor of the world, trying to do what we know we're supposed to be doing. And that culminates to our Temple of Hip Hop there as well. I thank you guys as well for making this possible. Keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep talking. Let's do this. And you charge your battery, because I want to hear you clearer.
It's my phone. I'm supposed to be on my laptop, but
KRS-one.com. Connect with more of this wonderful, deep teaching. I love what you said, that you want to continue with us. I got you now.
Yes, you do.
And I'll be knocking on your door. I've been over there already, Come
on now.
I'll be over.
Come on over. We got room for all of you. Beds and chairs. Come on.
That means I'm.
It was such an honor, and I'll bring the oxtails.
I don't eat oxtails. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I had to take B12 vitamins. And it's not really how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to eat the meat to get the B12, especially women. The magnesium, the iron, the B12, all of this. And it's just another knowledge, another education. Plus, as you get older, your body changes. And the things you couldn't eat or didn't eat in a younger age, you find yourself eating in an older age. And it's a whole different thing, this eating thing that I've been really dealing with. But if you bring the oxtails, I'll eat them with you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We will be knocking on your door.
Come on now. I'm right here. The door is open. You ain't even got to knock. Just come on in.
Awesome. I'll be there.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you so much.
Words, any last words?
Peace.
Okay. Thank you so much.
2024.com/donate. Chris, we're going to be doing another one. It's going to be the long haul one in January. And it usually goes noon to 9. And we're going to have a lot more content. We have a lot more enrichment for people to get to know Marianne better. And so we definitely want to have you involved in whatever capacity you want. You're part of the family now. You done stepped in here. So we need your voice. We need
When
your
is the next one then? When is the next one? I didn't hear you.
We were planning for January.
Okay.
past the holidays, all this craziness, and then start the year off right.
Count me in. Count me in.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. I'm the
Good
closer.
night, y'all.
Hit buttons.
I'm supposed to stick up for ending us on time. That's the job.
The red button.
Here we go.
Good night, everyone. Good night.